What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3MB Chapter 46 Roger is blocked by the Golden Lion. Kaido wants to recruit Cronus. In the first half of the Grand Line, the Oro Jackson is galloping in this sea area. I was almost blocked by that guy Shiki. I'm so lucky. Roger drank his lucky drink and felt that today was a wonderful day. Even the sunshine was warm. He got the news that Shiki went to South Blue some time ago. He knew that Shiki must have obtained the information from somewhere and was going to South Blue to stop him. But he had already escaped by then, feeling very happy in his heart. It was at this moment that a large fleet suddenly appeared in the sky, scaring Roger so much that he dared not breathe. He was familiar with this scene. This was the opening special effect of Golden Lion. But he didn't know whether the Golden Lion was blind or something, but he was right below him, and he flew past as if he didn't see him. Captain Roger, what's wrong with your physique? Why do you always like to provoke some strong people that we can't afford to offend? Buggy said complainingly. Buggy, you don't understand the adult world. You and Shanks will understand it when you become an adult. Roger drank his own wine. He was still tolerant of children. Buggy, don't you think it would be interesting to compete with such a strong person? Shanks looked excited. Interesting? Every time I encounter someone, I try my best to escape. At this moment, the Golden Lion suddenly turned around and came to kill him. Roger, join me. After unifying the world, I will be equal to you in this world. The Golden Lion appeared in the same way as always. He still invited Roger as always. The Roger Pirates are getting ready for another fierce battle. Captain, promise him. Buggy felt the pressure and cried. Ha 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 ha. New World. Kaido, who had just attended Charlotte Linlin's grand event for the establishment of all nations, felt uncomfortable. He and Charlotte Linlin teamed up to gain quite a bit of territory from the Golden Lion. Charlotte Linlin also divided a few pieces for herself to settle down temporarily, but she always felt like she was relying on someone else. Although during this time, a scientist named Quinn joined his pirate group. His own pirate group was also growing, but compared to Charlotte Linlin's huge family, the development of his own beast's pirate group does not seem so good. Among the cadres, the only ones who can pick up the pieces are Jin and Quinn. While eating red bean soup, Quinn looked at Kaido, who was in distress. Boss Kaido is good and willing to pay for his own research, and he also does a good job in respecting him. Quinn feels that he needs to recommend 2 talents to Kaido. Boss Kaido is worried about the development of the pirate group, Quinn asked. Although Kaido is a drunkard, he is still very sensible when he is not drinking. Although I have long been interested in the country of Wano, the strength of the country is not weak. I quietly went up to inquire about it, and there is the one named Odin is very difficult to deal with. I feel no weaker than me. Our pirate group also has few talents, and the only ones who can take advantage of it now are you and Jin. Quinn shook his head at this time. Boss Kaido, you can recruit talents from the new generation of pirates. This generation of pirates has produced some good guys. Quinn took out a few bounty orders from his pocket as he spoke. The crocodile of the Logia rustling fruit, Bullet. The Roger crewman who I heard is now flying solo. The Moonlight Moria of the shadow fruit. The animal phantom species Cronus. William from the Logia rain fruit. Van Oka from the weapon fruit. And a swordsman named Mahawk are all good talents. I have some impressions of these guys you mentioned, but I am determined to build an animal-type devil fruit army, and I don't like other devil fruit users very much. Cronus, a phantom beast species, is quite to my liking. Kaido nodded after listening to Quinn's words. Quinn shook his head after listening to Kaido's words. Boss Kaido, you can't think like that. People with animal fruit abilities are certainly lovable, but in order for the beast pirates to become bigger and stronger, we should absorb them as long as they are strong. Kaido really has no one available at the moment, and the 3 major signboards under him have not been gathered yet. The people are all there, but they have not yet fully formed their combat power. Jin has been following him since he came out of the Vogat kingdom. Quinn is a recent defector, and Jack is still a little kid and hasn't even been weaned for long. It was Jin who met him on the sea and brought it to him. He kept it by his side and cultivated it. The mammoth form of the ancient animal species was worth his efforts. Kaido also likes Jack very much and would hold and play with him from time to time. Jack is also the player who is most like Kaido. Of course, Jack has only learned Kaido's recklessness, but has not learned Kaido's coarse and fine details. Kaido seems to be a reckless man, but he also has a delicate side in his heart. When faced with Marine, he ran away when he had to. It was only after he awakened his devil fruit ability and knew that Marine couldn't kill him that he began to seek death. He has not yet reached that level of promiscuity. The same goes for the battle with Odin. If you are killed head-on, the loss will be too great. Using a little trick, Odin will not only lose his face, but also his life. He has not yet reached that level of promiscuity. Then pay more attention in New World. As long as this generation of supernovas steps into our waters, I will personally recruit them. Kaido thought for a while and nodded. If you want to develop, you cannot be stubborn. The opinions of your subordinates are also important. Occasionally listening to the opinions of your subordinates will bring them closer to you. Chapter 47 March. Time flies so fast, 2.5 months have passed in a flash. The shipbuilding progress is getting faster and faster, and Robert and the workers are gradually becoming familiar with the intensity of such work. At the beginning, Cronus even advised Mr. Robert not to work too hard. In his 80s, Cronus was afraid that Robert would die suddenly before his ship was built. However, the more Robert worked, the more powerful he became. He also mentioned that he might build this last ship, and he had to put his best foot forward no matter what. I have always lamented that as I get older, my condition is not as good as when I was young. When Robert said this, Cronus could only shut up. William and Jeffu were stationed in the capital of Seven Waters, and all the gold, cultural relics, etc. were transferred to the cook. William and Jeffu, while reselling the cash to pay for the progress, were responsible for cooking for the workers on site. They could save some labor costs. Jeffu and the original crew members on the cook enjoyed it. They listened to the workers clattering and cooking every day. This was the greatest recognition for them. This unfinished ship has swallowed up a huge wealth of 1.5 billion belly. It is a gold-eating beast. Cronus and Van Oka did not stay in the Seven Waters capital. They tried to block the shipbuilding pirates in the waterway near the Seven Waters capital, but they failed. I don't know if it's because of being overpowered by Mariah, but pirates coming and going will choose to go around nearby. When he saw the pirate ship of the Kronos Pirates, he walked around it from a distance. None of them believed it, and Cronus even took off the pirate flag for this reason. But as soon as they leaned against their fellow pirates, each one of them was like a mouse meeting a cat, and their maximum horsepower disappeared in an instant. The Brave doesn't have a special power system, and it's impossible for Cronus to jump off the ship and swim with the Brave in his arms every day just to chase pirates. Even if you rob your wealth, you will lose your face. Mainly, some pirates don't have much wealth. After all, they're thieves who lick blood on the tip of their swords. If they have money, they must be as cool as they can. How could you keep the money if it wasn't for building ships? Seeing that there was not much money to be found in the Seven Waters capital, Cronus and Van Oka decided to go further. Returning to Whiskey Mountain Peak, those pirates who have just come in from all over the world must have a lot of money on their bodies. Cronus also received a phone call from Moria. His ship has been built. He will first go to the Sabaody Islands and enter the New World. If he has a chance, he can reminisce about the past in the New World. Moria was still one step ahead of him. The port of Whiskey Peak is blocked by the Kronos Pirates, and you can only enter but not leave. If you want to go out, you can pay the protection fee. Cronus and Van Oka did not personally sit in the port. They had been at Whiskey Peak for a long time and got along well with the local bounty hunters. Although there are only 2 or 3 miscellaneous fish on his boat, with the help of local bounty hunters, pirates who dare not pay protection fees will come to help even if their own people cannot defeat them. Cronus could only lament that it was really easy to be friends. Cronus and Van Oka also recruited many pirates with good potential in Whiskey Peak. Some pirate groups worshipped the Kronos Pirates when they heard about them. The Kronos Pirates originally had plans to expand. After all, it was impossible to keep the new ship empty like this after it was built. They set a standard and let the crew members take care of it themselves. Perhaps because the standards are relatively strict, Whiskey Peak only recruited dozens of new crew members in 1 month. They also encountered a marine warship on the way, which scared Cronus so much that he ran away with the Brave on his back. He was afraid that Ryu and Gion would return to the marine headquarters and try to block him. Facts have proved that he thought too much. It was just that the marine branches from all over the world returned to the headquarters to report on their work. Cronus has never stopped training his hockey, and the hockey training manual he got from the pirates is finally over. Cronus has practiced himself to the point of hardening his armed color. In the face of his powerful number of armed colors, the hardening of his armed color can already exert a strong combat effectiveness. But I still don't have any clue about the advanced Ryu Sakura in the armed color. Van Oka has also been discussing with himself to verify that Van Oka has been able to initially cover the bullets and shells he fired with armed colors. Of course, the power of armed hockey taken away from one's hands is obviously not as strong as that held in one's own hands. But at least I can break through the defense against Logia. Kronos had to lament that the sniper's talent for seeing and hearing is just that much stronger. The coverage area covered by his own knowledge and color domineering is no longer comparable to that of Van Oka. However, Van Oka didn't reach the level of predicting the future with the domineering power of Kanwans, which was an extremely advanced skill of Kanwans. Van Oka has recently been collecting design drawings of various weapons and equipment, as well as various weapon design concepts. A proper weapons master, he has a thorough understanding of all kinds of common weapons in life, and even made a melee lightsaber himself. You can turn your hand into a huge lightsaber, and the lightsaber is so hot. If you get slashed, you will definitely get burned. The strength of the lightsaber is not bad. Cronus felt a little jealous after seeing it. Is the swordsman the final destination of the pirate? After all, among the legends of this era, which one of Roger, Whitebeard, Golden Lion and Redfield is not a swordsman? Does Cronus think he has to get a sword to show off his appearance? As a strong player, I can't master the iron cutting skills among swordsmen. But Cronus has his own way. As long as the sword in his hand is strong enough and matched with his own strength, what kind of thing can be cut down? Cronus also spared a few days to think about what kind of sword he needed. When he meets a powerful swordsmith in the future, he might as well get one for himself. Kronos felt awkward wielding an ordinary sword. In the past few days, he often borrowed swords from his crew members to play with, but they were fine when he borrowed them, and he couldn't go back. Although swords like Whitebeard's are good, Kronos still feels dissatisfied. Traditional Chinese swords are more in line with his wishes. But ordinary swords were awkward to use by themselves. Suddenly, he had an idea and he could make a heavy sword similar to Yang Guo's. A heavy sword has no edge, and great skill has no workmanship. With your own physique and a heavy sword like this, you can use it to shoot people. Even if you don't have the swordsman's slashing skills, you can still intimidate them. Cronus decided that he must build an épée in the future. After building the heavy sword, Cronus decided to challenge Kaido to a battle between the mace and the heavy sword. How come the more I look at myself, the more I look like a copy of Kaido? Cronus didn't know that Kaido was also thinking about how to find him. The more Kaido learns about Cronus's deeds, the more he becomes greedy. The animal-type fantasy beast Devil Fruit user seems to have a strong body's recovery ability. He also has capable cadre seeds like Fanoka and William under his command. If he takes over Cronus, his terminal combat power will be somewhat improved. Needless to say, in terms of courage, even Tianlong people dared to kill him. Cronus thought nothing more and began to swim to the nearby desert island again to exercise his armed domineering power. Although Cronus didn't know the Ryu Sakura technique of armed hockey, he understood that the more you hit armed hockey, the more you feel. I followed Garp's example and used his weaponized domineering force to punch the surrounding barren hills. Garp punched a mountain in order to flatten Green Pepper's head, although he himself did not have the same skills as Garp. But if you hit a few more mountains, you will eventually learn. Just like that, 3 months of shipbuilding have passed. Chapter 48 Cronus. What? I also have a little fanboy. Cronus and Vanoka just had a phone call with William and Zeph in the capital of Seven Waters. The shipbuilding plan in the Seven Waters capital is going very well. Cronus held a cigarette in his hand and kept rubbing it. Fanoka was wiping his glasses. Mr. Robert really has a wide range of friends, and he can ask Master Tom of the Fishman tribe to help. They have just received news that the completion of the new ship in the Seven Waters capital may be about a month ahead of schedule. Robert went to Hulk Island to invite Master Tom from the Fishman tribe to help. Originally, Master Tom was unwilling. It was Robert who offered his theoretical knowledge in mechanical and automated systems in exchange for Tom to agree. Master Tom is the chief designer of the future sea train, and his mechanical knowledge is also a grandmaster, but slightly inferior to Robert's. Tom once invited Robert to participate in his sea train design, but Robert refused because he was old and didn't want to go through any more trouble. It also made Tom uncomfortable for a while. During this time at Whiskey Peak, have you recruited anyone with particularly high talent potential? Cronus asked Vanoka. I collected some according to the standards you set, but there are none with particularly strong talents. Basically, they can only be ordinary crew members, but there are 2 Devil Fruit users among them who can work as small cadres. Vanoka said to Cronus after thinking about the recent situation summarized for him by his subordinates. Both ability users are of the animal type, and they are both rabbits and cows with little lethality. Is that so? It's really not easy to find real masters. Cronus was full of confidence when he first came to Whiskey Peak, thinking that he would be able to recruit talents. After all, talents from all over the world have to go here. But in the original work, he looked much stronger, but that was just with the addition of a filter halo. Based on the number of pirates on the sea, 99% of them are trash fish. Just follow the strong ones to experience the atmosphere of the Grand Route. Have William and the others met anyone with talent? Cronus continued to ask without giving up. Fanoka has more frequent contact with William, and he knows the situation there better than he does. After wiping his glasses, Fanoka picked up his exquisite little pipe and gently shook the tobacco from the cigarette into the pipe. William has some good workers there, they work hard and are suitable for us. William Chuhai also contacted them. But as I just said, you can become a small cadre at most. Cronus is disappointed. Just then the phone bug in Cronus' arms rang. Bulu, BU, 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 Cronus answered his personal phone bug. Not many people knew about his phone bug, and most of them were members of the pirate group. Boss Kronos, a merchant ship came from West Blue. After we robbed it, we encountered a tough opponent, an animal-type bird fruit user. He said he came to you specifically, and he looked fanatical. A voice came from the phone bug. Cronus was a little confused when he heard the crew's voice on the phone. The merchant ship from West Blue was hijacked by me, and there was a quarrel in it, saying that it came to find me. This sounds a bit unreal no matter how I sound. Did you ask for your name? Cronus asked. The voice of my own crew member did not come through the phone bug, but the voice of a strange man came over. Senior Cronus, I am your little fanboy Lafitte. Senior, for the sake of world harmony, I have personally learned about the news about the Draco. I have been very excited after hearing the news. I think we are the same kind of people. I came from West Blue. I just planned to take refuge with Senior Cronus. Ha ha ha. When did I kill the Tianlong people for the sake of world harmony? When did I become so great? Cronus felt a little strange when he heard the compliments from the phone bugs. He was just trying to get some money from the Dracos, but in the eyes of others, his actions were actually for the sake of the world. Of course he had heard of the name Lafitte, Blackbeard's right-hand man in the original novel. His personal strength is very good, and he is also an excellent navigator. When he first entered the Grand Line, he was worried about being a navigator. Mihawk was also targeted by him. We planned to hire him as the royal navigator of the Kronos Pirates. Now suddenly there is a navigator who is my little fanboy. Mihawk should be gifted as a navigator. After all, he dares to surf the sea alone, but he is definitely not as good as a real navigator. A professional one is definitely better. It's nice to have someone turn to him, but it's impossible to give up Mihawk. With Navigator, it makes sense to recruit Mihawk as a combatant in his pirate group. Could it be that I am really blessed by God, a great man who strives for world peace? Lafitte kept talking on the phone, and Cronus quickly asked his younger brother to arrange for Lafitte to come over to see him. When Cronus first saw Lafitte, he felt that this guy had an evil aura about him. Black and white shirt, with a staff and sword in his hand and a top hat on his head. Another guy who looked like a noble. Cronus looked at Lafitte and then at Van Oka next to him. What evil had Blackbeard done? After he arrived, he poached 2 of his top cadres. It seems that not only will the sniper be replaced, Blackbeard may even have to replace the navigator. Lafitte stood up straight, his hands trembling slightly, and the senior he had longed for stood in front of him. The world has been sick for too long and needs strong medicine. In Lafitte's eyes, evil means are just a strong medicine. If you don't use strong medicine to shock the world, it will never get better. Perhaps only by completely smashing this world to pieces can a reasonable order be rebuilt. Senior Cronus, only the strong medicine of evil can reshape the world. Senior understands it before me. I want to follow Senior and see the new world personally, Lafitte said enthusiastically. Cronus said he didn't understand, but he just had to follow Lafitte's words and must trick Lafitte into his ship. Excellent navigator, greedy. Lafitte didn't expect you to understand me so well. This world has been imprisoned by the celestial dragons for too long. Only by completely eradicating the celestial dragons can we usher in true world peace, Cronus said deceptively. Didn't Lafitte especially praise him for killing the celestial dragon? Then he would bring hatred to the celestial dragon. I think Lafitte would understand him. Lafitte was completely stunned. Senior Kronos had indeed seen the crux of the world. He was a security officer, and he also had the idea of protecting the country and the people. He cannot tolerate behavior that disrupts order. The methods are also cruel and a bit evil. But Senior Cronus obviously sees deeper than himself, and some aspects of order are also a cage that restricts the harmonious development of the world. The Tianlong people set order for the world, but they themselves were not imprisoned by the cage of order. For nearly 800 years, the celestial dragons have become the biggest stumbling block to the harmonious development of the world. What do their cruel and evil methods mean compared to the celestial dragons? Senior Cronus walked in front of him, and he wanted to follow in the footsteps of Senior Cronus. Senior Cronus, please allow me to join the Kronos Pirates. Lafitte gave an elegant gentlemanly salute. Cronus didn't know what kind of thinking Lafitte had made, but he was already pleased with Lafitte's request. As long as you are willing to stick around, you will definitely gain something. I have successfully recruited an excellent crew member at Whiskey Peak. From now on, I can also shout loudly. I, Cronus, also have a little fanboy. Chapter 49. Moria was almost caught by Marine. Grand Line Sabaody Islands. There are many broken decks near the port, and Marine almost wiped out this generation of supernova moonlight Moria here. Several hundred meters deep under the sea, the coated Moria managed to escape Marine's pursuit. Moria had a huge wound on his chest at this time, and the crew under his command was bandaging the wound. This female Marine from Gion is really difficult to deal with. The wounds on Maria's body were caused by the deep cuts made by Gion's Kinpira. Marine's operations in the New World came to an end. Garp, Sengoku, Ahe, Sakaski and Palasalino were left alone. Garp and Sakaski were left alone, and the rest returned to Marine headquarters. After Gion and Ryu returned to the Marine headquarters from the Seven Waters capital, they have been suggesting that Cyborg Fleet Admiral increase the marine patrol of the Sabaody Islands to prevent the Kronos Pirates from entering the New World. Cyborg and the world government attach great importance to the Kronos Pirates. After that, Ahe and Gion would come to the Sabaody Islands for a walk every now and then. After Moria finished building the new ship, he rushed towards the Sabaody Islands. Moria also inquired about the information in advance and prepared to conduct coding in illegal areas. Everything went well at first, but somehow he was exposed to Marine. Ahe and Gion fought their way over, and after a fierce battle, Moria finally completed the final coding and escaped into the sea with his men. For this reason, a huge wound was left on his chest. In order to cover their escape, one of the two brothers had his arms chopped off, and the other had only his upper body left. But luckily he escaped alive. Ship doctor, we must save their lives. Moria couldn't stop the tears from the corners of his eyes. It was because of him that he ended up in this situation. Captain, my life is saved, but I can't be a pirate in the future. After hearing what the ship doctor said, Moria's expression became more relaxed. It's better not to be a pirate than to lose your life. For him, it is not a problem to bring a few partners with broken arms and legs. Moria had reason to suspect that the fact that he was blocked in the Sabaody Islands this time had something to do with Cronus. How attractive is Cronus to Marine and the world government? He has escaped from the hands of Marine and CP time and time again. If a villain like Cronus really enters the new world, he will be like a dragon swimming in the sea. Although Marine has never slackened in patrolling the Sabaody land, under normal circumstances it would already be a big deal to have an ordinary lieutenant general patrolling. Unexpectedly, he met the chief counselor Ahe and Guion, which had to make him suspicious, but what if he was suspicious? Could Cronus really be blamed? After all, I am unable to protect my partner. In the Seven Waters City shipyard, Kronos was observing Robert and Tom's shipbuilding work. Tom's craftsmanship is no worse than Robert's, and he is worthy of being a man who can build a boat for One Piece Roger. Cronus and Tom have a good relationship. As Cronus has accepted the idea that everyone is equal since childhood, he has no discrimination against fish people. The basic strength of fishmen is much stronger than that of humans. Their basic strength is 10 times that of humans, and they can move freely in the sea. If the Murlocs could be united to form a Murloc force, Cronus couldn't imagine what the strategic significance would be. In this ocean-dominated world, as long as the Murlocs capsize your boat, most people will not be able to defeat the Murlocs in the sea. However, the base of the fishmen is nothing compared to humans. The top human beings outnumber the fishmen by too many. This is also the reason why fishmen and mermaids are stronger than ordinary humans, but they can only become high-quality slaves that are rare in the human market. The giant steel ship was undergoing some finishing work. Cronus felt extremely painful after seeing it. It was just a main frame and cost him a full 3.5 billion Baileys. It can be said that basically all the money that should have been taken away from me. The cold storage that Jeffu wants and the numerous artillery fire that everyone expected can only be purchased later when money is available. The ship was also coated with paint to prevent seawater corrosion. Robert also gave Cronus a small Easter egg and asked Cronus and others to design the patterns they wanted on the ship. With the collective efforts of the crew, the portraits of everyone in the pirate group were engraved on the ship. This is recognition of them and also means that this ship is their home. The entire hull is made of metal. After seeing it, Tom couldn't help but sigh. Although this kind of steel ship is less flexible, it can face artillery attacks more calmly. The outermost layer of metal on the entire ship is a special metal that Robert bought from the Metal Kingdom, combined with his specially developed alloy-making technology. The safety of the ship is perfect. Metal Kingdom also listed Robert as a high-quality customer. The special metals Robert bought from Metal Kingdom this year reached the annual output of Metal Kingdom. Big customer. Although this metal is of high quality, its price is 20% higher than ordinary metal. There are not many people who need it, so the output is not high. Generally, it is sold together with the metals that are easy to sell. Little did he know that Robert would finish it all in one go. Even the metals in his inventory were half bought and half given to Robert. This metal has strong pressure resistance and sealing resistance, and is an essential metal for Kronos to build large submarines. Although Marine has a large demand for metal, they do not need to go into the water, and the price is still more cost-effective for cheaper metal. Kronos also saw with his own eyes the power system of the ship. As long as it is a high-quality fuel that can provide energy, it can become the best fuel for an internal combustion engine when mixed with water in a certain proportion. You can also generate electricity while sailing. Robert completely removed the mast of the ship, leaving only the deck exposed as an outdoor activity space. It is said to reduce the resistance of the submarine when diving, improve the maneuverability underwater. Robert also bought a set of equipment for hydrolysis to generate oxygen from Vegapunk's hometown. As long as the submarine has enough supplies, it can survive underwater. Of course, he still doesn't recommend it. There is no sunlight all year round to survive underwater, and air circulation is also an obstacle, although oxygen is provided. But people still produce waste gas in their daily lives, and the smell won't be very good. If not necessary, just sail on the sea. Cronus also went on board to take a look. Except for a layer of paint, there was nothing on it. The decoration at the back will cost a lot of money. Thinking of this, I can't help but feel cash-strapped again. Robert introduced it as he walked, saying this was his most satisfying work. It is also his last work. He will not build new ships in the future. After saying this, his whole body slumped down. I have been dealing with boats my whole life, and finally it's time to stop doing it. Cronus, I hope you can take this ship to roam freely on this sea and make this ship the best ship, Robert asked Cronus. Cronus looked at the old man in front of him. The intense work during this period seemed to have made the white hair on the old man's temples even grayer. I will definitely make this ship the best ship. Robert gently touched the boat he built. Meeting a captain who loves him is indeed the best thing. Want a name for it? Robert asked. Cronus thought carefully, as if he hadn't really thought about what the ship should be called. The Wave Rider. How about this name? Cronus thought of the first ship that accompanied them. The name of the first ship is called the Brave, and this ship will continue the mission of the Brave and continue to take them to ride the wind and waves. William danced when he heard the name Cronus gave him, and the Brave Wind and Waves can also be regarded as the Brave second-generation project. Van Oka and Zeph agree. Lafitte had just joined and admired Cronus very much. He agreed with everything Cronus said. The brave man who rides the wind and waves represents that this ship will sail through the dawn. Senior Cronus will also take them to welcome the New World Order. Lafitte kept thinking about it. The shipwrights who joined your Kronos Pirates are very qualified. I have given them the experience I have learned throughout my life. What I didn't hand in has been written in the notebook. Those notebooks are of no use to me, so let them take them away. They are also the new shipwrights on your ship. Robert gave Cronus everything he had recorded since he learned shipbuilding. Those notebooks can fill a small warehouse, which is why Robert can become a top shipwright. His whole life was spent in constant learning and summarizing. Remember to perform regular maintenance on the Wave Rider. Robert thought to himself that his era was over, but the new era would keep moving forward. He wanted to take a closer look while he was still alive. Chapter 50. It's great to have a navigator, a belated welcome party. The first half of the Grand Line is called Paradise by the strong men of the New World. It seems that you are not a mature pirate unless you enter the New World. The climate change in the New World is shockingly fast. However, the first half of the Grand Line was not as bad as the New World experts said. Although the speed of weather changes is not as fast as that of New World, if you don't know a little bit about navigation and have no strength, you may end up in the so-called Paradise. Lafitte also successfully demonstrated his powerful navigation knowledge in the Kronos Pirates. Storms can always be predicted in advance, and heavy rain and hail can always be used to activate the submarine mode in advance. Today is not a good day, with fist-sized hail falling overhead, coupled with the raging wind. Driving on the sea will definitely make you miserable. Everyone in the Kronos Pirates is watching the underwater world at this time. This is a window specially left by Robert to better observe the underwater environment. Lafitte, I'm so lucky to have you. Being hit by hailstones will definitely make you feel bad. Cronus praised Lafitte. It is my honor to serve Senior Cronus and everyone, Lafitte said with a smile. Why do you still call me Senior Cronus after such a long time? Just call me Captain Cronus or Brother Cronus, Cronus corrected Lafitte. Senior Cronus. Brother, then I'd rather be respectful than obey. Lafitte liked the atmosphere of the Kronos Pirates. Everyone on the ship has committed their lives to each other and are partners. Jeffu looked at the ingredients swimming in the sea and thought about how they should be cooked. A Poseidon turned over on the bottom of the sea, looking a little confused at the submarine that appeared near him. When did other Poseidon species appear in the sea near him? This Poseidon looks like a fat-headed fish, with sharp fangs. It opens its mouth wide to bite off some parts of the submarine that provokes it. Poseidon species have a strong sense of territory, and they will consciously avoid each other's territory. At this moment, a huge torpedo was shot towards the fat-headed fish Poseidon, and was accurately thrown into his mouth, making a loud explosion. The head of the fat-headed fish Poseidon was blown open, and the surrounding sea area was quickly dyed red with blood. Some smaller fish began to crazily eat the exploded meat of the fathead fish Poseidon. What a waste, what a waste! Jeffu couldn't help but exclaimed as he looked at the fried high-quality ingredients. The head of this fat-headed fish Poseidon is the most delicious part at first glance. The steamed fish head must be delicious, but it is wasted like this. Although it is good to leave only the fish body, it is still a waste after all. The Wind and Waves Brave has already replenished part of its firepower, and even went to the marine branch of the Grand Line to borrow a batch of weapons for this purpose. The people of the Kronos Pirates were also brave and directly robbed the marine branch of the Grand Line. Cronus also had a bad temper. Speaking of which, he has been chased by Marine, and now he can be regarded as an offensive and defensive alien. The brave Wind and Waves surfaced quickly and had already passed through the hailing sea area. The next step was to quickly surface and deal with this fat-headed fish. Lafitte looked at everyone commenting on the Poseidon class, his mouth wide open. If the Poseidon class appeared in the world, he would have to ask the generals of the Marine headquarters to deal with it. The torpedo power of the Kronos Pirates is not small. Lafitte thought of ancient weapon Pluton. Even if there is a gap, it should not be big. The new crew members recruited from Whiskey Mountain and the Seven Waters were even more shocked when they saw the scene in front of them. Brothers, it's a party, Cronus shouted, raising his arms. Although he often fights in the Air Force, the fish caught by the Wind and Waves brave warrior can be regarded as his contribution. He was so happy that he decided to have a grand party. Since the new members joined, we haven't had a party yet, but this time we had a lot of fun and food. What a mess. Jeffu covered his head, feeling a headache. But I didn't say anything. This is exactly the atmosphere that the Kronos Pirates should have. The old guys on board the cook started to get busy, and everyone also started to help dismember the fat-headed fish. The strong ones began to carry the wine in barrels from the wine cellar. The large cold storage that Jeffu asked for was replenished as soon as possible, and the vegetables in the cold storage began to be shipped. Cronus began to grill the sliced fish on the grill himself, with his professional sprinkling of ingredients. The ones who are on board are my brothers. The Kronos Pirates don't have that many rules, but I hope everyone remembers not to attack your own people. If someone doesn't understand the rules, I, Cronus, will make him understand with my own hands. After Cronus finished speaking, he had a murderous aura. This kind of person who was eating barbecue and drinking wine on the field didn't pay any attention to it. Isn't it normal for such a simple rule? Boss Kronos, should we go directly to the New World next, or try the first half of the Grand Line? Lafitte also came over to help Kronos grill the fish. However, Lafitte's clumsy appearance showed that Kronos had never done such a job since he was a child. Most of these guys who look like gentlemen are not very good at cooking. Lafitte also wanted to help himself. Fanoka had always eaten ready-made food. According to him, it was a professional matter and needed to be done by professionals. Before Tetsuo joined, Cronus had been leading everyone in preparing meals. Seeing that he couldn't help, Lafitte simply stopped insisting. He took the grilled fish from Cronus and chewed it carefully. Go directly to New World. But if we encounter interesting things on the way, it doesn't stop us from taking risks, Cronus said with a smile. Then let's go to Judiciary Island to see it. I heard that there is the most unique whirlpool current there. I really want to see it. As a navigator, Lafitte wanted to see the strange ocean phenomenon in person. Then we can take a detour halfway to have a look. It won't take too long. Cronus was also very interested in world government's Judicial Island, and after listening to Lafitte's words, he also planned to take a detour to see it. Lafitte, I still don't know which form of the bird fruit you are. Tell me and it will give me some insights. Cronus knew that Lafitte was a devil fruit user. But I don't know which specific form of the bird fruit it is. The flying devil fruit was very rare in the early days of One Piece serialization. But the further you go, the less valuable it becomes. My devil fruit is not as good as Cronus's, it's just an ordinary swift form, Lafitte said with some embarrassment. When he didn't know about animal-type fantasy beasts, Lafitte was quite satisfied with his devil fruit. Animal-type animals that could fly were extremely rare. Knowing that there is a type of phantom beast species, the price of my bird fruit dropped a lot in an instant. It may not be bad once the bird fruit is developed. After all, being able to fly is the biggest advantage. Cronus patted Lafitte on the shoulder. By the way, do you have any doubts about domineering training? Cronus asked with concern. I'm still figuring it out for now, but I already have a clue. Come on, don't let your domineering power drop. After all, only your domineering power can surpass everything. Cronus brought out Mr. Kaido's point of view again. Although Luffy's Guonika form has had a big impact on this view, it seems that being selected by Joey Boy can become the strongest. But what did Joey Boy rely on to reach this position? Domineering. Joey Boy can reach that level, why can't he? Cronus has great confidence in himself. Chapter 51 CP9 Chief Stussy. The waters near Judiciary Island, the brave waves floated up from the bottom of the sea. Cronus looked at this strange phenomenon where the sun never sets no matter from any direction or angle. This is the Island of Justice, the island that never sleeps. Cronus plans to take people to play nearby. Now that there is a submarine, he feels a lot more courageous. Dare to take advantage of Judiciary Island, the facade of world government. Of course, Cronus is just looking around and has no intention of doing anything excessive to Judiciary Island. This is the Judiciary Island, which together with the Marine Headquarters, Marine Vendor, and the Deep Sea Great Prison, is known as the Three Fortresses of Justice. Fanoka commented while holding his small pipe. Lafitte was observing the calm sea water and heard that the Three Fortresses of Justice were covered in whirlpools. The world government spent a lot of money to build 3 gates of justice here. When the gate of justice is closed, the sea is calmer. When the gate of justice is opened, the ocean currents brought up by the whirlpool can allow the other 2 places to quickly provide support no matter what happens to any one of the 3 fortresses of justice. If it's true, the designer who designed the gate of justice must be a genius, Lafitte thought to himself. This makes full use of natural phenomena. Nature is great, but humans are still too small in front of nature. What's there to see in a broken castle? William said he didn't understand. Although Judiciary Island looked a little bigger and more majestic, it didn't seem to matter. It was really amazing. Who is it? Be alert. Inform Lord Stussy quickly. The guards on Judiciary Island discovered the Wind and Waves warrior. After Stussy returned to Marijoya from the capital of 7 Waters, she was demoted to CP9 as a temporary commander because she failed to complete her mission. Who is so brave? Do you want to break into the Judiciary Island? Stussy was angry. Why is his life so bad? The capital of the 7 Waters was tricked by Cronus, and when he was transferred to the Judiciary Island as the temporary governor, he still encountered someone who forced his way into the Judiciary Island. Check. Check for me. Who is he? Are you so brave? Stussy ordered the CP below. CP quickly drove the warship near Judiciary Island and rushed in the direction of Cronus and others. Cronus and others also noticed the warship, but they did not want to cause trouble here. Symbolically fired 2 cannons at the warship. The lookout personnel on the warship's observation deck also recognized Cronus and others through their binoculars. Damn Cronus. Stussy was not happy to hear the report from the phone bug. Then she got on the warship in person, and she planned to meet Cronus. When Stussy personally arrived at the sea area where the Wave Rider was staying, he saw what a huge ship quickly closed within a few minutes. Just dived into the water. In the cabin of the Brave Waves, Cronus was exercising. Stussy must be furious. We didn't even see Boss Kronos. William laughed from the side. Who says it's not the case? But the world government also knows that we can dive underwater. Jeffu looked worried at the side. So what? We can still do it if it takes 2 or 3 minutes, Fanoka didn't care. In a chase on the sea, 2 or 3 minutes is only a very short time. It won't take that long to find the marine warship submerged in the water. If Stussy knew how Moria was tricked by Cronus, she might feel a lot more relieved. Speaking of the Marines and pirates who are related to Boss Cronus, they all have bad luck, some crew members commented. I heard that Boss Cronus has the physique to defeat the enemy. Is it so magical? I heard. Chapter 52 Sabaody Islands. The windbreaker Brave is docked under the sea near the Sabaody Islands. There is a small submarine docked at the port of the Outlaw Zone. This is a small submarine specially built by Robert for Cronus and others. It is usually parked in the cabin of the Wind and Waves Brave. If you encounter a place where you cannot dock, you can rely on small submarines for supplies. There are 2 such submarines in total. This little submarine also has its own unique name, Supply Boat 0. The name of the other boat is Supply Boat Number 1, simple and practical. The Lawless Zone is the no zone of the Sabaody Islands, where all kinds of bad guys run rampant, and Marine and the world government don't care about it either. Illegal areas are also the hardest hit areas for human trafficking, and there are many areas in the Sabaody Islands where human trafficking is even visible. The Sabaody Islands, famous for their tourism, are just one step away from darkness. Being so close to the Marine headquarters, wherever there is light, there is also darkness. A pirate at the port of the Lawless Zone recognized the pirate flag of Cronus and others. Although Supply Boat Number 0 is small, there is still a small flag hanging above its head. This is the logo of the Kronos Pirates. That ship is so funny. I'm just a baby. What kind of pirate would ride on a ship like that? There was a pirate who didn't recognize the Kronos Pirates logo and was a little dissatisfied with the Kronos Pirates logo. The sub scoffed. Another knowledgeable pirate rubbed his eyes and looked carefully. Does that flag look familiar? Then he thought of something and opened his mouth wide, and quickly covered the mouth of his companion who just couldn't hold his mouth shut. That's the ship of the Kronos Pirates. If a member of the Kronos Pirates hears it, what do you think? Don't take me with you to death. Although the Kronos Pirates have not entered the New World, they are ruthless people who have been able to escape from the world government and Marines several times. Their level is not comparable to that of little pirates like them. Kronos Pirates. The pirate who said Submarine 0 was a baby ship was obviously frightened and collapsed to the ground. What follows is a feeling of being robbed of the rest of your life. The reward for Captain Cronus of the Kronos Pirates was recently raised to 250 million Baileys. The reward for his reckless man William was also raised to 130 million Baileys. The sniper Van Oka also got 100 million Baileys. These are 3 supernovas in one pirate group. I didn't expect them to appear in the Sabaody Islands. It seems they are about to enter the New World. I don't know what kind of storm will be caused in the New World. A few crew members remained on Supply Boat 0. Cronus and others are currently wandering in the illegal zone. William, are you sure you really understand the map? There was a black line on Cronus' head. The original plan was to let Lafitte lead everyone to the auction house in the illegal area through the map, and go to the auction house to purchase some goods. William Fay said that he had been studying with Lafitte for a while and wanted to lead the way and show the results of his learning. Cronus always felt that they were going in circles. Lafitte originally wanted to remind him, but William blocked Lafitte's mouth. Let Lafitte, the master, trust him, the apprentice. If I let you lead us for another half an hour, if we are still wandering around in circles, then William, you will wash the underwear of all of us for half a month. Cronus saw that William was very interested, and planned to take a gamble with William. After all, when would he stop letting William lead them around in circles? Just bet. Isn't our economy a little tight recently? Can we afford the expensive stuff at the auction house? Lafitte asked Cronus and others. Cronus then realized that Lafitte had been a member for so long, but he had not personally practiced the old traditions of the Kronos Pirates. Do we have money? Cronus asked everyone, spreading his hands. No money. Fan Oka, Jeffu, William and others responded one after another. Yes, we have no money, Cronus affirmed. Then why are we going to the auction house? Lafitte was even more confused. In the face of this chaotic world, we must use evil and strong medicine to bring it back to harmony, right? Cronus continued to ask Lafitte. Yes. Then what kind of money should we give? Is our Kronos Pirates like a pirate group that can afford to pay? Lafitte realized it. It seemed that he was still a new recruit in the world of pirates. Looking at what my seniors say for granted, I am really holding them back. Let William lead the way, it really doesn't work. William successfully won a bunch of pants for himself. Cronus and others found a black shop selling swords on the road. An ordinary standard sword actually dared to sell him 10,000 belly, Kue Dao dared to sell it for 5 million belly, and Liang Kue Dao even sold it for an astonishing 30 million belly. Faced with such a black shop, Cronus ordered Lafitte to take away all the swords above the sharp knife level in the black shop. This is all money. Thank you for coming. The knife you selected is worth 320 million belly. As a distinguished guest, I will give you a 0 and give you 300 million belly. The boss rubbed his hands flatteringly. Make a lot of money, really make a lot of money, there really are such ignorant young people. Most of the good swords can only be sold for about 1 million, but he shouted for 30 million belly, making a net profit of 30 times. Quick knives are more profitable than good quick knives. The number of good swords in the pirate world has always been 50, which is not a weapon that has not reached the level of good swords. However, the swordsman world will reselect every 10 years, and the swords that have been destroyed or the swords that are outdated will not be given the title of good and quick swords. That's why after so many years, Liang Kuei Dao has been able to maintain the number of 50. Boss, do you think I am a man with 300 million belly? Lafitte pulled down his hat and asked. What do you mean, distinguished guest? The boss felt unhappy. On credit. If you dare to take advantage of others in an illegal area, do you really think I'm a soft persimmon? The boss said harshly. To be able to do business in the illegal zone of the Sabaody Islands, he still has 2 tools. So what? Come on, brothers. The boss was beaten until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he also handed over the only 30 million belly cash in his store. Lafitte also successfully completed a team building, and their relationship became closer. Welcome to visit you next time. The boss sent away the gangsters with a face that he didn't even recognize his own mother. It is difficult to do business in the illegal zone of the Sabaody Islands. The boss decided to return to his hometown of Donghai and open a weapons shop in Rog Town. Chapter 53 Cyborg. You can't just run away after the general is dispatched this time. Marine Headquarters Marinefondo. Just when Kronus and others were wandering around on the Sabaody Islands. Marine Headquarters Joint Intelligence Team on the Sabaody Islands has successfully intercepted the news that Kronus and others landed on the Sabaody Islands. Cyborg in Fleet Admiral's office. Zephyr, Sengoku, Ahe, Gion, Ryu, Perusalino, and Sakaski are all there. Sitting in the corner was Kuzan, who had been given a lot of insight by Zephyr. Except for Garp, who is stationed in New World, Marine's decision-making team is basically gathered together. I have received news from the Sabaody Islands Joint Intelligence Team that the Kronos Pirates successfully landed on the Sabaody Islands. It has been confirmed that Kronus is in the illegal zone, and our people dare not keep a close eye on it. But what is certain is that Kronus, William, and Van Oka, the main combat forces of the Kronos Pirates, are all there. The Joint Intelligence Team of the Sabaody Islands is an intelligence organization jointly constructed by Marine and CP. Its main function is to find out information about the Kronos Pirates. Kill Kronus, the most vicious criminal in the Sabaody archipelago. The intelligence team had just begun to be formed when Moria landed on the Sabaody Islands. Moria was discovered a little late, but now the joint intelligence team has been completely formed. Moria didn't remind Kronus of the intrigues of the Sabaody Islands. He and his brothers were still recuperating on the Fishman Island. When Long heard the news, he was very excited. Okay. We can finally avenge our shame. This guy was finally caught on our home court. Gion's face also turned red, and he was very excited inside. Although Ryu and Gion don't have much dislike for Kronus, the Kronos Pirates will not take the initiative to attack ordinary people. There are even rumors in the pirate world that the Kronos Pirates are Marine's lackeys, and they are so cruel to their own people that many pirate groups were bankrupted by Kronus. The Marine headquarters is also under heavy pressure. The world government has been making a fuss about military expenditures and requires the Marine headquarters to arrest the Kronos Pirates as soon as possible. World government and Marine have already prepared 2 sets of proposals internally. If the Kronos Pirates can be captured alive, in order to show the sanctity of the celestial dragons, Kronus and others are planned to be publicly executed. If Kronus and other criminals resist too fiercely, they will be killed on the spot regardless of life or death. The influence caused by the Kronos Pirates has been so bad that the celestial dragons have not dared to run too far recently for fear of being killed by some stupid group on the sea. There are also brave guys among pirates who are not afraid of death. He has also been searching for news about the celestial dragons on the sea, planning to follow Kronus' example and kill a lot of celestial dragons, so as to increase his reward. As a result, the CP agency was extremely busy during this period, and the Tianlong people requested to increase their guard strength. Cyborg Fleet Admiral said, Zephyr, Sengoku, Dragon, Gion, and Perusalino, please go and take a trip yourself to the Sabaody Islands. I don't believe that 2 Marine generals can escape without Macronos. Cyborg serves as Fleet Admiral, and Marine must implement the decision he makes. Everyone stood up and quickly took orders. Each of them had a serious look on their face, but they were happy in their hearts. They captured Kronus and others alive in front of the CP and carried out a series of public executions. Then the world government would have to allocate more military expenditures to Marine. Marine's development is promising. Kronus has become a sponsor of Marine's increase in military spending. Everyone has begun to fantasize about a new round of conscription in their hearts. Damn it, Roger. Kronus rubbed his eyes and couldn't believe it. Who did he meet on the Sabaody Islands? Isn't this the future One Piece Roger? Roger also had the leisure to go to the Sabaody Islands for a vacation. Kuroka's also stood beside Roger. No wonder he didn't see it in the sea near the upside-down mountain. But you, Roger, weren't you busy looking for Lafdru? Some wind blew you to the Sabaody Islands. Roger was bragging with his crew when he suddenly heard a loud, FK Roger. He thought he had met that guy Garp. They were originally on the way to find the historical text, but they were blocked by the Golden Lion halfway, and it took a lot of effort to escape. Along the way, we were unknowingly not far from the Sabaody Islands. Rayleigh's old friend Shachi just happened to open a tavern in the Sabaody Islands. The Roger Pirates plan to play here for a few days. Next, go back to New World to find other historical texts. Shao-Chi is not a simple woman. She is Boya Hancock's former predecessor and the Empress of Nine Snakes Island. She doesn't know what kind of medicine Rayleigh gave her, and she was deceived into resigning from the position of Empress. Then he opened a tavern on the Sabaody Islands and started a little information business. Roger was about to run away when he looked up and recognized Cronus. Isn't this the vicious criminal Iobatus Cronus, the draconian killer who was in the limelight some time ago? Speaking of which, when he saw the news about Cronus, he lamented how courageous the newcomers of this class were. Vicious criminal? Roger asked tentatively. Cronus also came to his senses at this time, but when he heard the nickname called by Roger, he was a little unhappy. You are the vicious criminal, and your whole family is a vicious criminal. Ha 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 ha. Roger swung his nose hairs. I didn't expect to meet the famous Gold Roger here. Cronus also greeted Roger. Roger was also very interested in Cronus. Are you here for coding on the Sabaody Islands? Not bad. Cronus nodded and replied. Although the Wave Rider can transform into a submarine, Cronus still doesn't want to be in such limelight. That's a coincidence. Are you going to Fishman Island? We are also preparing to code here and go from Fishman Island to New World, Roger continued. Want to go all the way? Roger invited. Roger found out that Charlotte Linlin might have a piece of historical text on road signs, and was about to go back to New World for research. Cronus and Roger had a conversation like this. Okay, but how long will it take for you to code? The coding work will be completed this afternoon, how about you? We can leave at any time, but next we plan to go to the auction house to have fun. Are you interested? Cronus asked symbolically. Cronus saw that Roger and their destination were not consistent, so he just planned to part ways to complete their own goals in the Sabaody Islands. We're not in a hurry. I can accompany you to the auction house to have a look. Roger shamelessly followed Cronus. Speaking of which, he plans to invite Cronus on his ship. He hasn't met such an interesting young man since Bullet left. Rayleigh, go and bring Shao-Chi, and we'll go to the auction house together. Of course Roger didn't intend to buy anything when he went to the auction house. They didn't have the money to buy anything, but if they really saw each other, what money would they get if they became pirates? Roger is an old pirate and is very familiar with this matter. Chapter 54 Roger. Does Cronus want to board my ship? Lafitte looked at the map in his hand carefully for 2 seconds. After a while, Roger, Cronus and his party successfully arrived at the auction house. Cronus praised Lafitte's ability. Speaking of which, Cronus is a bit of a road addict. Even bad maps in his previous life would lead him astray from time to time. Not to mention navigation, it is also a technical job. The people from the auction house obviously recognized the identities of Cronus, Roger and others, and took Cronus, Roger and others to a separate private room very respectfully. Cronus was also about to ask if there were any extra charges. The receptionist at the auction house ran away in despair. Cronus picked his head. Could he be so scary? Boss Cronus scared this little girl. William laughed at the side. Only then did Cronus realize that there was a tall and thick William standing behind him. It must be William's muscular appearance that scared the little girl. Otherwise, just because of my handsome appearance, the reception girl would have to ask for a private phone signal from me. Cronus and William were fighting. You pirates really get along harmoniously. Shao-Chi, who was led by Rayleigh, couldn't help covering her mouth and laughing when she saw that Cronus and William were arguing over who scared the receptionist until they got into a fight. Just get used to it. Fan Oka took out his small pipe and was about to smoke. Suddenly he noticed Shao-Chi next to him and put his pipe back. I also know how to smoke, don't worry about me, if possible, can you give me a smoke? Shao-Chi said quickly after seeing Fan Oka's gentleman appearance. Fan Oka took out his collection of good cigarettes and handed one to Shao-Chi. Shao-Chi skillfully lit the cigarette, inhaled, and puffed out the smoke lightly. Roger is becoming more and more satisfied with the Kronos Pirates. Are you interested in coming to my ship? Let's look for the end of the world together. Have an unprecedented adventure. Roger invited Cronus. Cronus was sorting out his messy clothes after fighting with William, and was stunned when he heard Roger's words. To be honest, it's really good to be on Roger's ship. After all, after Roger disbands, he will get the identity of a one-piece crew member. Roger's character is also suitable for Cronus. Kronos was not that interested in the truth about Lafdru, but it would be a good thing if he could really find out. Roger also mastered the skills of Conqueror's Entanglement and Armed Color's Domineering Advancement, and his seeing color can reach the level of listening to all things. When he joins the Roger Pirates, it's impossible for him not to teach him, right? Cronus thought for a moment, then shook his head. I refuse your invitation. Cronus knows that there are many benefits to joining the Roger Pirates, but Roger wants to take the elite soldier route. What should he do with his crew? Fanoka, William, Jeffu and others met the requirements of boarding Roger's ship, but what about the ordinary crew members under them? Should they be left to fend for themselves? Cronus thinks he can't do it. If Roger wants to accept such a large ship like them, who is the Roger Pirates or the Kronos Pirates? It's unclear, and in the future, I will embark on the path of fighting for hegemony. I have to secure a territory in advance and manage it, and I will hang out with Rogers until he is executed. It's possible that even though he got the identity of a one-piece crew member, he didn't even get a piece of land in the end. Roger felt a little regretful after hearing what Cronus said, but he didn't intend to use force on Cronus. He was much different now than when he first went to sea. He got his mate Pluton Hilbar's Rayleigh through force. Rayleigh originally didn't intend to go to sea with him, so he set Rayleigh's house on fire. Rayleigh had to follow him wholeheartedly. Thinking of that time, Roger couldn't help but laugh. It's such a pity. If I were younger, I might have kidnapped you and joined our Roger Pirates. Ha 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 ha. Cronus and Roger both laughed. Black lines appear on Rayleigh's head. Isn't Roger clearly and covertly targeting him? Damn Roger, if I hadn't boarded your pirate ship, I would definitely be a wife and child. Cronus also knows about Roger's bad behavior, but if Cronus puts himself in Roger's perspective, he will definitely make the same choice for a talent like Rayleigh. After all, Rayleigh is the deputy captain, and the deputy captain of One Piece is as valuable as Madara. Rayleigh can not only be used as a combatant, but also manages the entire pirate group in an orderly manner and manages the battle properly. What are your plans for going to New World? Roger asked curiously. Cronus did not hide Roger's problem. Entering the New World means entering version 2.0 of the development of the Kronos Pirates. It's not a problem for the Kronos Pirates to be floating on the sea all the time. They need to lay down a fixed territory and start operating their power. What else can I do after entering the New World? Of course, I want to lay down a piece of territory so that my brothers can enjoy 2 days of happiness. If you have the opportunity to visit my territory, I will treat you to 2 drinks. Ha 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 ha. It's great to be young, but compared to sitting in one place, I still prefer the feeling of being able to take risks. Roger was touched when he watched the growth of the new generation. The New World is very cruel, and I hope you can conquer a big territory as you wish. Roger blessed from the side. There was still some time before the auction started, and the members of the Roger Pirates and the Cross Pirates were chatting together. Cronus knew that Bullet had left the Roger Pirates, but he still couldn't help but take a closer look. The relationship between Shanks and Buggy is very interesting. Everyone in the Roger Pirates also likes to tease the relationship between the two, but it is obvious that the relationship between the two is very strong. The Roger Pirates are really full of talents. Shanks and Buggy, who are not very impressive now, will become the leaders of the pirates in the future, the 4 emperors. It can be said that One Piece and 2 4 emperors are gathered on this ship. Compared with the members of the Rocks Pirates, they are not inferior at all. Sky Island. That is an interesting place. You must go and see it if you have the opportunity in the future. Many people regard Sky Island as a legend, but Sky Island is real. Roger drank with Cronus. Xiaoju boasted. I heard that the indigenous people on Sky Island came from the moon. Is it true? Cronus asked Roger. Roger thought for a while. It's really possible. Their body structure is different from that of ordinary humans, and they have small wings. William somehow got along very well with Shanks and Buggy, and started playing a game of faster reaction. It's time for the auction to begin. Chapter 55 Second Generation Muramasa. The good knives we plundered from black shops are really nothing compared to the ones at auction, Cronus sighed. At this time, a large sharp knife was being auctioned at the auction. This item was put up not long after it started, which shows the high quality of this auction. The Demon Sword Second Generation Muramasa. According to legend, the Second Generation Muramasa was created by Master Chico Muramasa, a master swordsmith 100 years ago, imitating the Demon Sword Muramasa made by his ancestor. The evil spirit and resentment are very strong, but if you are determined, Second Generation Muramasa is also a famous sword that can continuously absorb the evil spirit and accompany the owner to grow. If you are lucky, it is not impossible to grow into a supreme sharp knife. The host of the auction house introduced forcefully from the side. He also hopes that Second Generation Muramasa can sell it for a good price. The higher the final total of the auction, the higher the commission he will receive. Cronus listened to the host's introduction and looked towards Second Generation Muramasa, who was placed on the auction table. It is said that a generation of Muramasa was once a supremely sharp sword, but it is unknown in which era it was lost. It never appeared on the sea and was finally removed from the list. The host definitely didn't tell all the bad things. The evil energy on this sword even made me a little scared. An ordinary swordsman might be completely sucked to death by this sword, Rayleigh said at the side. Roger nodded aside. Second Generation Village is just an unpretentious knife. The entire blade is ink-colored without any embellishment, giving people the feeling of an endless abyss. The knife is a good knife, but it requires very high standards from the person who wields it. Cronus didn't understand knives, but the 2 masters of knives spoke so highly of Second Generation Muramasa that he was instantly interested. Let's see which unlucky guy took Second Generation Muramasa away, and his wool-gathering genes started to act again. Cronus also secretly made up his mind that when he entered the New World, he would find a powerful weapon-forging master to give him a heavy sword. So that I can shoot people with bang bang bang. I know this sword. Since its birth, all the owners of this sword have not had a good end. Without exception, they have been sucked into mummies, said a knowledgeable swordsman in the auction house. Such a demon sword shouldn't fetch a high price, said the swordsman's companion. There won't be many interested people in a lord-eating sword, and even fewer people may actually bid on it. If it were an ordinary sharp knife, maybe he would buy one and use it. The neutral and peaceful broadsword is what ordinary swordsmen should use. You still underestimate the world of the rich. Rich people don't buy knives for use, just for viewing. I guess this knife will definitely sell for a very high price. A nobleman next to him pointed at 2 swords. the scholar said contemptuously. 100 million belly, I will offer 100 million belly. In the hall, a man dressed as an aristocrat with a mustache raised his hand and made an offer. After quoting the price, he held his head high, as if no one could exceed the price he quoted. Being able to fetch hundreds of millions of baileys for a famous sword is already a big deal, and he feels that he is a sure winner. 110 million baileys. A quote came from the bakery diagonally opposite the private room where Cronus and others were sitting. The noble bearded man in the hall was stunned for a moment. The reason why I took pictures of this demon knife is because a Buddhist master once told him that his family needed a demon knife to control feng shui. He was willing to pay such a high price, but for what purpose did the people in the VIP box pay such a high price? The VIPs in the VIP box may not necessarily be richer than the people in the lobby, but their status and strength must be more noble or powerful than the people in the lobby. An old aristocratic man in the VIP box looked at his little daughter with a smile. This is his youngest child. His youngest daughter likes second-generation Muramasa. In order to please his youngest daughter, he decided to take this demon sword. After several rounds of price reductions, the demon sword second-generation Muramasa was finally sold for 300 million belly. Cronus was stunned. Damn. A knife sells for 300 million. I took so many knives from a black shop I met in a lawless area, and the boss only dared to shout 300 million. Now a knife can already reach this value. Cronus suddenly felt that he had missed a lot of small money. When I was harvesting pirates' wool, I forgot to collect their good knives and sell them. Cronus's waist hurts a little, but it's all his money. While thinking about it, Cronus looked at Ace hanging on Roger's waist. Roger, your ace seems to be one of the 12 supreme swords, right? If you sell it, wouldn't you make a fortune? Cronus saw stars in his eyes. Roger felt a chill running down his spine. Don't try to trick me, Ace. After saying that, he hid his ace behind his back. Roger regretted inviting Cronus to go to the New World. Cronus wouldn't have found an opportunity to secretly take his ace and sell it on the way, right? Although this was unlikely, Cronus's greedy expression really made him feel bad. Cronus curled his lips, stingy. Then he turned his attention to the sword on Rayleigh's waist. Although the quality of Rayleigh's sword was not introduced in the original book. But it stands to reason that the quality of the sword that can become Rayleigh should not be too low, and it will be very valuable. Rayleigh avoided Cross's gaze, feeling as if her daughter-in-law was being watched. William was also yelling strangely at this time. I once encountered a sharp sword that was as good as the demon sword Muramasa. Why didn't I kidnap him then? There was once a sincere and sharp knife in front of me that I didn't cherish. If I could be given a chance to come back, I would definitely sell it for a high price. The people of the Kronos Pirates felt like they were constipated after hearing William's words. Everyone in the Roger Pirates looked at the performance of the Kronos Pirates. Pirates really have successors, and they are better than their masters. Roger thought he was shameless enough, but when he listened to the Kronos Pirates discussing how many baileys had been lost, the corners of his mouth kept twitching. Have I, a senior in the pirate world, fallen behind? Chapter 56 Roger. Did First really attract Marine? The auction sales are still going on. Later, many high-quality items were released, including 3 devil fruits, 2 animal-type paramecia, and 1 at the auction. The animal types are the cat fruit domestic cat form and the cat fruit lynx form. Is this a wholesale sale of cat fruits? The other one is paramecia jumping fruit? Could it be that eating this devil fruit will turn you into Tigger? It should not be said that paramecia is a magical category. There are many very powerful devil fruits, such as Golden Lion's fluttering fruit, Whitebeard's shocking fruit, Brindewald's momo fruit, and Yishao's gravity fruit, all of which are very powerful fruits. But there are also many interesting fruits, and devil fruits such as paramecia jacket fruit are very difficult to understand. Of course, there is definitely a slave trade in illegal areas, and very high-quality mermaids and slaves of other rare races have also appeared. Cronus hates the slave trade, but can he save the one in front of him, and can he save the slaves on Marijoya? Besides, now is not a good time to save these slaves. If there is a chance later, I can go to Marijoya to set a fire and contribute to Tiger's cause of slave liberation. Cronus was dazzled by what he saw, and he also classified the valuable things, and when the time came to leave the auction house, he immediately launched a black and white operation. Cronus still has no intention of openly robbing him. It is said that there is a celestial dragon background behind the auction house in the illegal zone. If things get serious, unlike in the East China Sea, the Marine headquarters is not far from the Sabaody Islands. These nobles are really rich. Cronus cursed. Why isn't he Cronus who is rich? The Kronos Pirates are already so poor, why doesn't anyone help? Otherwise, Cronus, a good young man, would not think about picking off other people's wool. Just when Cronus was criticizing the injustice of the world in his heart, the personal phone in his arms rang loudly. Captain Kronos, we observed several marine warships on the Waverider Warrior approaching the Sabaody Islands. Cronus was shocked when he heard this. What's the matter with the marine headquarters? Who in the Sabaody Islands is worthy of them going to war over this? Get ready, we will set off as soon as we arrive. After the crew of the Kronos Pirates quickly reported the situation, Cronus hung up the phone in his hand. Roger also heard the content of Cronus' call and jumped up instantly. Pirates are very sensitive to marine, but who does he have in the Sabaody Islands? Roger looked at the people around him, trying to get the answer he wanted from them. Cronus was now keeping an eye on Roger. As Roger was one of the 3 legendary pirates, it was impossible for Marine to dispatch so many warships just for his little Cronus. Everyone in the Kronos Pirates also looked at Roger. Roger looked unconfident in everyone's eyes. Could it be that Marine is doing it for my gold, Roger? Roger, run. It could be that B************ D Garp again. Rayleigh quickly shouted to Roger. Roger was a little stunned by Rayleigh's 2 roars. Could it be that I, Roger, lured Marine here? I, Roger, have never been weak in my life, but why did I just escape from the clutches of the Golden Lion? I fell into Marine's den again. The members of the Roger Pirates and Kronos Pirates reacted very quickly, and rushed out of the box windows one by one. Not caring that the hall was full of people, he stepped on their heads. Cronus and others who had just ran out of the auction house were successfully blocked by warring states and others. We meet again, Cronus. Roger. Why did you appear in the Sabaody Islands? Is there any conspiracy between your Roger Pirates and Kronos Pirates? Sengoku also noticed Roger running out. Although Garp was mainly responsible for capturing Roger, Sengoku had encountered the Roger Pirates on the sea, and they were very familiar with each other. It's been a long time since we last seen each other in the Warring States period. What disturbed you and General Zephyr? Roger was also surprised when he saw Marine's luxurious lineup. There is also an unexpected bonus. We can also send all the villains of the Roger Pirates into the Impel Down City. Zephyr was happy. Dark Hound. Sakaski was so thirsty that he didn't want to listen to the nonsense from both sides anymore. Faced with Sakaski's ability, Rayleigh swung the saber in his hand towards the red dog head made of Sakaski's magma, and cut Dark Hound in half with a slash. Zephy's hand was wrapped with domineering energy. He clenched his fist, fell from the sky, and hit Roger with this punch. Without hesitation, Roger pulled out the ace in his hand and stabbed Zephyr from the air. God avoids. Zephyr did not dodge Roger's divine dodge, but moved towards the divine evasion with the fist in his hand. He was Black Arm Zephyr, a general famous for his physical skills. This divine escape was shattered by Zephy's hands. Cronus looked at the fighting figures on both sides and chose the same behavior as Moria. Now, let's sneak away while Marine is not paying attention. William, Fanoka, Lafitte, and Zeph nodded quickly, and got ready to run away. Buggy and Shanks obviously found Cronus and others who were about to escape. Cronus, you are not ethical. After hearing Buggy's words, Cronus turned around and replied. Roger lured Marine, why should we stop him? The Marine camp heard Cronus's words about not having a green face, and Guillaume was the first to take the lead. Kronos, do you still want to show off your face? In order to stop you in the Sabaody Islands, our Marines have made great efforts to establish an intelligence team in the Sabaody Islands. As soon as she finished speaking, the entire battlefield fell silent. It turns out that Marine came to the Sabaody Islands not because of Roger, but because of Cronus. No, it's impossible, absolutely impossible. Cronus couldn't believe it. Only then did Roger realize. Roger, I'm not capable of attracting enemies. It was obviously you, Cronus, who attracted the enemy. This guy is so bad. One sword style, kite slash. Guillaume couldn't watch Cronus and others continue to run away, and a slash flew out along the Jinpira in her hand. Van Oka's slashing attack on Guillaume was a heavy weapon suppression, with several shells flying past. Guillaume's slashing attack collided with the explosion of Van Oka's shell, and a larger explosion shockwave began to spread out in all directions. The dragon is already at war with Rayleigh. There is no way to deal with Cronus. Cronus only felt a dazzling light suddenly appear in front of him. Brother, speed is power. Have you ever been kicked by the speed of light? Porcelino was still young at this time, but his wretched appearance has not changed at all. The back part is so wretched, it seems that I have had the wretched gene since I was a child. Chapter 57 Captain's Order. Cronus fights Porcelino and Guillaume alone. Roger vs Zephyr, Rayleigh vs Dragon. Jabba escaped first with 2 trainee crew members, Shanks and Buggy. Warring States period gave William and Fan Oka a beating. Under the Golden Buddha that is the incarnation of the Warring States General, the 2 of them cannot take any advantage at all. The difference in strength is obvious. Cronus coordinated and let Lafitte and Zeph escape first. A pair of wings appeared behind Lafitte, carrying Jeffu and planning to return to the supply ship Zero first. Cronus had to lament his good luck if he had not met the Roger Pirates. Ask Roger to help him stop a Marine general, maybe he will really fall here this time. Cronus saw that William and Van Oka were outmatched. He planned to switch opponents with them, and he also wanted to try the pressure of General Marine. The Golden Buddha incarnated as a general of the Warring States period was a golden impact on Cronus. Cronus also quickly transformed into a beast. Facing the shockwave of Sengoku's blow, he planned to use his own body to stop it. The Warring States general was worthy of being a general, and Cronus was kicked out by the Warring States period. As expected of the man who almost wiped out the 4 emperors. The powerful shockwave caused blood to flow from the corners of Cronus' mouth unconsciously. It seems that there is still a gap between me and General Marine. But it's not that simple for General Marine to kill himself. Great Ape Shockwave. Cronus put his hands together into a ball shape and rushed towards Sengoku. Warring States reacted quickly. The Golden Buddha clasped his palms together and collided with Cronus' attack. The two people's shockwaves exploded instantly, and the surrounding ground sank. Roger looked at his pirate junior. Although his strength was not as good as his own, the destructive power of his attack was not much worse than his own. Cronus felt that his fingerbones were shattered, and one of his fingers had drooped, which seriously affected his fighting. Cronus bit his finger hard and tore it off. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and he was very cruel to himself. When Warring States saw Cronus' appearance, he made up his mind that such a villain could not let him escape again. The limb regeneration ability of high-speed regeneration is finally put to use. Today's newcomers are really cruel, they can be so cruel to themselves, Roger laughed. Zephyr didn't give him time to watch the battle and chased Roger fiercely. William, Fan-oka, you go first. Let me try the feeling of 1 versus 3 today, Cronus shouted to William and others. Boss Cronus, we will not leave our brothers and escape. William turned into rain and collided with Perusalino. Fan-oka, listen, I will hold back Perusalino and Gion later. You take William and leave first. This is the captain's order. Cronus looked serious. Kronos was unsure about the confrontation with General Marine, but what he knew was that he had to fight away for Fan-oka and William. I am an animal-type phantom beast-type user. Even if I am captured alive by Marine, I will be sent to Impel Down City. There is a high probability that he will not die. What Cronus didn't know was that Marine had already made a public execution plan for him, and his status as an animal phantom beast could not save him. Fan-oka stared at Cronus for 2 seconds. Okay. Cronus began to ignore Sengoku's attacks on him, and quickly rushed towards Perusalino and held him tightly. The huge power made Perusalino struggle, and his other hand was not idle, restraining Gion tightly. This is all thanks to the huge size after transforming into a beast. Although it cannot compare with the Golden Buddha of the Warring States period, it is not far behind the ordinary giants. Sengoku's attacks made Cronus vomit blood constantly. There was not a single piece of good meat on his body. Fan-oka, you coward. Even if Laozi dies, he will die with Boss Cronus. William was being held up by Fan-oka, and he kept scolding. Fan-oka's power was not as strong as William's, and there was nothing he could do against William for a while. William go. Cronus watched Sengoku preparing to use the giant Buddha shockwave on the two of them, and blocked the attack with his back. We can't help Captain Cronus, we can only implement the captain's will. Why don't I want to help the captain? But we will only drag the captain back here. If Captain Cronus is caught, I will go with you personally. Tribulation Field. Fan-oka was very entangled in his heart. He doesn't want to leave either, but he doesn't want Cronus' efforts to be in vain. Don't embarrass our outstanding juniors. Roger suddenly unleashed Kamui, and he was able to help Cronus under ZFA's attack. After Roger helped Cronus, he exchanged glances with Rayleigh. He could only help so far, they were about to run away. William lowered his head and let Fan-oka carry him flying away. Fan-oka transformed into a jet and quickly led William towards the supply ship Zero. Roger and Rayleigh turned around and ran away. Zephyr and Long would not let them escape like this. If Cronus and Roger can be caught in one fell swoop, as soon as it is published in the newspaper, the era of the big marine will not be far away. Cronus looked at the departing figures of Fan-oka and William and smiled. With Fan-oka and William on the field, Kronos is still unable to exert his full strength, and his high-speed regeneration can allow him to exchange blood regardless of injuries. Even if it's 1-on-3, they have to pay the price if they want to catch him. Cronus also started to turn around and run towards the sea. The sea is his main battlefield. When he gets there, he has the final say whether to fight or run. Cronus ran very fast, or even a pirate could run very fast, but Perusalino was always there to interfere with him. Cronus couldn't defend himself. He already had many burn marks on his body, and the light was also very hot. Warring States also knew that Cronus' devil fruit ability was not affected by seawater, but the incarnation of the Buddha was indeed not as flexible as Cronus' beast transformation. A shockwave hit Cronus in the direction of his hand, with the intention of nailing Cronus to the spot. Cronus felt the crisis from what he saw. Is it your uncle or your uncle? A general is worthy of being a general. I had to stop and put my hands together. He rushed towards the shockwave that hit the Warring States period. With a roar, the General Warring States period's attack knocked one of his hands down. The inside of the arm is already a mess. Gion and Sakaski hit each other with a chop and a flying kick. After Kronos blocked Sengoku's attack, he ignored the attacks of Gion and Perusalino and continued running towards the sea with difficult steps. Run to the sea and be free. This is a free run. Chapter 58 Devil Fruit Awakening. Kronos' chest was sunken, and blood was constantly vomiting out of his mouth, mixed with some internal organs. It looks very miserable. However, Kronos was only a few dozen meters away from the sea, and he could escape with just one giant stride. Pirates are the source of chaos. If Kronos can't catch you, then you will sleep here forever. The world will surely open a new era of great marines. Warring States knew that if Kronos escaped into the sea, everything would be in vain. Pirates are the source of chaos. Can Marine represent the justice of this world? Marine's justice is ultimately overshadowed by the evil of the celestial dragons. Cronus's heart was beaten to pieces by the shockwave of the Warring States period, but he still spoke plausibly. Zephyr and Warring States chased Roger away, intending to come back and take down Cronus with Warring States. Long saw this scene with his own eyes. Marine is the most powerful force on the sea, but the justice it performs is justice shrouded in evil. I have never denied your righteous actions, but the superior celestial dragons suppress you so much that you dare not breathe, but you dare not stand up and resist. Your justice can only go so far. Cronus said as he took out his heart. I am free even if I die, but Marine will never be free. As an old Marine, Sengoku would not be easily seduced by Cronus, but the dragon who heard Cronus's words of generous death later was the most shocked. Don't dare to resist, you will never be free, Long kept mumbling. Cronus faced the sea and threw himself into the embrace of the sea. Did you choose to die? But even if you die, your body will still be pulled out and whipped. Warring States was shocked when he saw Cronus dying, but he could not leave Cronus's body intact. The celestial dragon will not let Cronus go. For Marine's military expenses, he must also send Cronus's body to the Holy Land of Mary Joa. This battle was really brutal. Half of the illegal zone in the Sabaody Islands was sunk. Brother Cronus is really a troublesome guy, Perusalino muttered. Did Cronus die like this? Gion only felt empty. Several battles with Cronus made her progress very quickly, but in the end it was over at this point. Seabed. Supply Boat 0, Vanoka, do you think Captain Cronus can successfully escape? William asked Vanoka, who had the best relationship with him. If Cronus dies, I will never spare you. William's fists were clenched tightly, and tears welled up in the eyes of everyone on Supply Boat 0, but they held back and did not let the tears flow down. I will definitely not die. Absolutely, Vanoka answered affirmatively. After all, he is the captain of the Kronos Pirates, the confident captain who dares to kill the celestial dragons. We have to trust his judgment, Vanoka also shouted beside him. Isn't he sad? He is sadder than anyone else. Since joining the Kronos Pirates, he has successfully integrated into this big family. And Cronus is the head of this big family. Captain Cronus will definitely be able to escape. He will also lead us to create a new order, so he will definitely be able to escape. Lafitte said confidently, this is the omnipotent senior Cronus. I will definitely do it. Jeffu didn't know how to comfort everyone, even though he was feeling terrible inside. Look who that is. Lafitte saw the huge figure of Kronos transformed into a beast on the coast. Cronus dyed the sea water around him red. Countless sea fish began to eat at Cronus' body, and Marine was preparing to salvage Cronus' body. Suddenly the water vapor around Cronus began to thicken, and there was wind and thunder. Cronus's injuries began to heal crazily, and a brand new heart began to grow in his heart, which was tougher than the beginning. The high-speed regeneration factor in Cronus' body was working crazily, and Wu Jiji's power began to spread throughout his body. Cronus felt that he had a dream, in which a monkey called himself the King of Y River, or he could also be called the Lord of Y River Disaster. He asked himself if he wanted power. If so, just become one with him. Cronus felt him and himself leaning together, and finally slowly integrated with himself. His body was suddenly entangled with a violent aura, and the aura was constantly rising, and his whole body's strength skyrocketed. The injuries on the body healed a little faster, the broken bones began to be expelled from the body, and a new skeleton began to grow in the spine. Cronus didn't know how the animal system awakened, but he had also heard that there were a group of jailer beasts in Impel Down that failed to awaken the animal system. The Waishui Lord who bewitched him in his mind began to fight for control of his body, and Cronus let out a painful cry. Warring States saw the scene in front of him. Is it the awakening of the animal system? Warring States prepared to reward Cronus with 2 more giant Buddha shockwaves, but before the attack could reach Cronus' body, he began to sink into the water. Under the force of the water, Cronus did not suffer much damage, and even the shockwave of Warring States made him sink faster. Cronus and Wujiki began to fight for control of his body. As they fought for control of his body continued to be damaged and repaired. In the end, Cronus will completely overwhelmed Wujiki, and he didn't know whether his awakening was successful or not. But I finally woke up. I'm alive. Now let's meet up with our friends. It's time to enter the new world. Cronus doesn't know how other animal systems awaken. Will they also have to fight against the consciousness within the devil fruit? But is it because those jailer beasts in Impel Down City are reduced to killing only because they haven't fought? That's why he gained extremely strong physical fitness and recovery ability, but turned into a machine that only knows how to kill. Then why didn't Wang Lufei experience everything he experienced when he awakened in Nika form? Is Nika's awakening different from ordinary animals? After all, Nika is labeled as a sun god, or Wang Lufei is the successor of Joey Boy and does not need to accept such a process at all. He has already been subtly influenced by Joey Boy. Nika form is an ability that Joey Boy has mastered before, so there is no need to experience it again. Cronus shook his head and didn't want to think about it. But before leaving, I had to leave a small gift for Marine to thank them for their hospitality. I opened my mouth wide and started sucking in the seawater. Then his belly swelled up and he spurted in the direction of Marine. No longer paying attention to the follow-up situation, he swam towards the wind and waves brave warrior. Chapter 59 Morgans. President, you are old. The strongest of the new generation of pirates. The new king of the new world. Roger looked at the newspaper he had just bought from Newsbird. There was a report in the newspaper about the Sabaody Islands. The Marine headquarters dispatched 2 generals, the Roger Pirates and the Kronos Pirates of the Marine headquarters to start a fierce brawl in the Sabaody Islands. Half of the islands in the lawless zone were sunk, and the newspaper's exaggeration and description compared Kronus to the new king of the new world. It also provides an in-depth analysis of the possibility of a union between the Kronos Pirates and the Roger Pirates. Ah ha 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 ha, the new king of the new world, it seems that Kronus has successfully escaped. Roger put away the newspaper in his hand and said with a smile. Kronus is constantly irritating the nerves of the world government. The emergence of such reports proves that Kronus must have escaped, otherwise the news of the defeat of the Kronos Pirates will be overwhelming. Speaking of which, the news of the world has become rebellious in the past 2 years. It reports on its own despite the world government's request to conceal news. He is worthy of being chosen by Captain Roger. It's not easy to escape from Sengoku's men, Jabba Copper also said with a smile. But I almost believed that kid's evildoing. First thought Marine from the Sabaody Islands was attracted by me. Roger's nose hairs trembled. Ha 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 ha, Captain Roger will be outclassed by newcomers one day, Captain Kurokas said with a smile. The sea is so magical. There are all kinds of different people. There is nothing to be ashamed of if you are compared to someone new. Roger picked up the wine jar and sipped it gently. What a joy. Although Kronus rejected him, he had a hunch that Kronus would definitely be an important figure in the next great era. Then the next step is to return directly to the Sabaody Islands for coding and enter the new world, or to wait for a while in the first half of the Grand Line. Rayleigh asked Roger for his opinion. Their coding was supposed to be completed soon, but Marine's sudden appearance interrupted the coding. There is no time to delay, let's set off directly to the Sabaody Islands and return to the new world. The first half of the Grand Line, News of the World Headquarters. Morgans, look what you have done. The president of News of the World slapped the newspaper in his hand on Morgan's face. The world government has become increasingly dissatisfied with our world news. If you continue like this, we will be disbanded sooner or later. We are the mouth of the world government. Don't you know what can and cannot be reported? Morgans lowered his head. Morgans has been paying attention to the incident of Kronus, ever since he knew that Kronus slaughtered the celestial dragons. The Seven Waters City escaped from Marine's men calmly, and went to the Sabaody Islands to face the generals of Marine's headquarters without any loss. Morgans had to pay 100% attention to a pirate like Kronus who was good at causing trouble. The photos taken on the Sabaody Islands were all sent back by his people. Big deal. The world government also wanted to suppress the killing of the celestial dragons on Agan Island and the current situation on the Sabaody Islands. Morgans is the deputy director of the News of the World, and it was at his strong request that this series of events could be reported. Morgans gently picked up the newspaper that the president had thrown away. President, you are already old. How can you be so timid as a journalist to report big news that shakes the sea? Morgans was extremely dissatisfied with the world government's involvement in the news of the world. From the day he joined, he had been thinking about leading the news of the world out of world government's control. The president of News of the World held the teacup with his hand trembling slightly. I gave you all your rights. Do you want to rebel? The era of being your president is over, and it's time for young people to take over. Morgans sat down with a smile. Morgans has bribed the people inside the News of the World a long time ago. Now that the president is alone, the News of the World will usher in a new era. Kronus returns to the Waverider. What are the crew members preparing to say to Kronus? Kronus fell asleep like this, he was too tired. Night. Kronus slept for a long time, and his injuries completely improved. Boss Kronus, I knew you could do it. I'm too weak to be of much help. William bit his lips tightly at the side. His lips were bitten and his teeth were stained with blood. He was unwilling to accept it. Facing General Marine, they couldn't even escape. Kronos is not such a simple man. I knew he would come back alive. Fanoka was under the greatest psychological pressure. After all, he was the one who took William away first. If something goes wrong with Kronus, he doesn't know how to explain it to his friends. But he has been carrying out Kronus's words. If they are in Kronus, they really can't escape. He couldn't say it. Could it be that he told William that we escaped because of Captain Kronus? He felt that he was a coward for saying such a thing. Senior Kronus, you will definitely not die until you complete the establishment of the New World Order. I have always believed in my heart that it seems that Senior Kronus is indeed the messenger sent by God to save the world. Lafitte saw Kronus. The scene where the North Devil Fruit awakens is the most exciting. This extremely powerful force, can the Tianlong people stop it if it continues to grow? Lafitte is seriously disfigured. When Jeffu saw Kronus wake up, he didn't come up to say hello. Instead, he immediately ran to the kitchen and reheated the chicken soup that had been cooked for a long time. There were many crew members who woke up when Captain Kronus woke up, and Captain Kronus woke up and shouted. Kronus looked at William, who was covered in bandages, and Vanoka, who was holding a tripod. The intensity of this battle has never been experienced before. Kronus felt warm in his heart and touched the position of his heart. He already had the most powerful power. Didn't I come back alive? I made you worry, Kronus said softly. Then he got up from the bed and hugged William, Finoka, Lafitte and many crew members gently. Here comes the chicken soup. Jeffu rushed here in a hurry with the chicken soup that had just been simmered. Ha ha ha. Zeph, how did you know I was hungry? Cronus hugged Zeph's chest. He took the chicken soup from Zephu's hand and started gulping it down. After drinking, I felt hungrier. Jeffu has already arranged for people to prepare a feast. To celebrate escaping from death, there is a banquet, Cronus shouted to everyone. This party is bound to be fun, William. There is no need to blame yourself. We are still growing. Next time we face General Marine, we will definitely not be in such an awkward situation. Cronus stretched out his hand and touched William. Yes, William is determined to double his training intensity. Fanoka, it's difficult, but it's all over. Cronus knew that when he asked Fanoka to take William away, Fanoka must be under a lot of pressure. But Fanoka is a man he trusts, and Fanoka also trusts him. Chapter 60 Marine Internal Meeting. Marine Headquarters Marinefondo. Zhang Guo was dealing with documents in his office. He didn't look good and felt bad. He just wanted to do something to make himself look busy. Garp returns to the headquarters from the New World Marine Base to report on his duties, and is currently eating Sengoku donuts. Sengoku's donuts are simply better than our own senbei. Warring states, I heard that Cronus escaped under your hands. Garp laughed and laughed at his good friend. After returning from the New World, I heard that Sengoku had let Cronus go, and Garp ran over non-stop to laugh at him. Sengoku's already very bad mood was made even more uncomfortable by Garp. Don't make sarcastic remarks here. Who would have thought that he could awaken his devil fruit ability under such circumstances? Ha ha ha. Even the warring states generals can make excuses? Garp continued to laugh. Sengoku didn't bother to talk to Garp. He had known him for so many years and still didn't know what kind of character he was like. The more you talk to him, the more he becomes angry. Then he ignored Garp and started processing his own files. This guy is also drinking tea in Seng Guo's office, and his psychological pressure is not as great as Seng Guo's. He has gradually retreated into the background. Is it still Roger that he is fighting against? It's not very reasonable to let Roger run away. After all, Marine hero Garp has been chasing Roger for so many years, but he still hasn't sent Roger into impel down. Garp, please stop saying a few words. Our warring states general feels uncomfortable too, but if Kronos enters the New World, subsequent actions against the Kronos Pirates will not be so easy. Zepha Duan he took a sip of his strong tea. Although Garp is stimulating Sengoku's nerves, he has his own sense of proportion. This is just an act of adjusting emotions between old comrades. The New World is so messy. Letting Cronus stir it up is a change, Garp said. If it weren't for the Draconians to explain things, who would want to keep an eye on Cronus all day? But Garp, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin seem to have further actions against Wano. Sengoku put down his documents. Zepha frowned. I wonder what kind of medicine Kaido and Charlotte Linlin are selling. The geographical location of Wano is not suitable as a base camp. As a non-world government member country, Wano country is restricted by its isolation and geographical conditions. Once they had no contact with the world, what was the purpose of the two of them against the country of Wano? Sengoku took some senbei from Garp and gnawed on it. Could this be the idea to seize Wano's sea stone? After all, sea stone is an exclusive trade. If we can monopolize it, it will be easy to do it even if Wano's traffic is blocked. Get a lot of wealth. It seems that these pirates are thinking about expanding themselves. The world is not peaceful, Zepha sighed. The remnants of the Rocks Pirates have also begun to challenge the Order of the Sea. Garp saw Sengoku fish out the only senbei he had on his body, and gnawed on the donuts Sengoku had secretly hidden. Are you planning to compete with the Warring States period to see who is better? The Valley of the Gods incident saw the defeat of the Rocks Pirates. On the surface, it was a great victory for Marine and world government, except for the execution of Rocks, the leader of the thieves. The leaders of the Rocks Pirates are all making trouble on the sea. The Golden Lion and Whitebeard have become the legendary pirates now. John stole Rock's treasure and ran around the world, but now there is no trace. Ochaku occupies the Beehive Island and is recharging his energy. Charlotte Linlin and Kaido are the most active right now. Long's recent mental state is not right. Garp, you should pay more attention to enlightenment, Sengoku said to Garp after swallowing the senbei in his mouth. Didn't he just let Cronus run away? Are you so frustrated? Laozi has been chasing Roger for so many years, hasn't he been able to catch him? Laozi is not even that frustrated. Garp criticized the dragon's state. I can't accept such a small setback. It seems that I still haven't done a good job in educating Long. Zepha smiled helplessly after listening to Garp's words. If you ask me, if it weren't for the dragon's high understanding, he might have been crippled by you long ago. You are not suitable for education. The dragon is not just because he let Cronus run away. Not in the right mental state. When Garp heard this, he stopped eating donuts and asked, what else could it be about? Warring States then spoke. Maybe it was what Cronus said when he jumped into the sea that touched his heart. We are old Marines and we will not be bewitched by Cronus. The younger generation's thoughts have not yet been completely finalized, so maybe Long is confused because of this. Wait until Laozi finds a chance to comfort his son. Garp expressed disdain. Will his son's psychological quality be so poor? As long as he and Long have a round of loving education, Long will definitely turn around. On the other side, Long, Sakaski, Perusalino, and Gion formed a small group. Kronos has become much stronger after awakening from the devil fruit. It will be difficult to catch him in the future, Gion said from the side. Perusalino put on a lewd expression. Brother Cronus is really getting more and more dangerous. Sakaski feels there is no need to discuss these meaningless things here. He waved his cloak and planned to continue going to sea to catch thieves. This guy Sakaski really doesn't fit in with the crowd, Perusalino pursed his lips. Long was silent for a while. After Cronus animal-type fantasy beast species awakens, his physical fitness will definitely experience a surge. Coupled with the fact that he can use his abilities in the sea, there is basically no possibility of catching him in the future, unless he is so stupid that he goes to Marine headquarters to die. Gion and others were silent after hearing what Long said. Cronus, who has awakened his devil fruit powers, fights alone. No one here dares to say that they can defeat him. Gion even believed that he would be captured by Cronus in a short time. The same is most likely true for other people, but I have been thinking about what Cronus said. Can Marine, who is enveloped by the celestial dragons, be able to fulfill true justice? Long suddenly said. Long has been thinking about it these days. How can Marine, who dare not resist the celestial dragons, truly carry out Marine's justice according to his own will? When Marine's justice and the interests of the celestial dragons collide, what choice will Marine make? He doesn't know, or he knows very well, but he doesn't want to let himself know. He understands that in the face of such a situation, Marine can only keep making compromises. So is it still necessary for me to stay a Marine? Dragon, this is not what we little Marines should think about, Perusalino reminded kindly. Gion also patted Long on the shoulder. How credible is what the pirate said? It's enough for us to just be ourselves. 2 updates are provided, and there will be 3 more updates at night. Brothers, I think the update is pretty cool. Can you give me a free power generation for love? Thank you, Xiao Li. Chapter 61 Fishman Island. Cronus was looking at the scenery of the deep sea in the observation room at this time, and could already see the light emitted by the eave of the sun tree from a distance. Yangshu Eve plays an immeasurable role in the reason why fish people and mermaids can survive on the seabed 10,000 meters below. It can be said that without Eve, there would be no Fishman Island today. There are many strange deep-sea fish in the deep sea. Cronus and others couldn't help but sigh when they saw it. It turns out that the same water and soil can support the same fish. Jeffu looked at these deep-sea fish and his mouth watered with greed. He personally drove the #1 supply boat to catch some of them, ready to try them out. Jeffu has never cooked these deep-sea fish, so he doesn't know whether they are poisonous or not. But Tetsuo is not worried at all. There are only a lot of people with devil fruit abilities on his ship. All of them are extremely physically strong. They are all good materials for poison testing. Tetsuo is very measured and only arranges a small amount for each person. Most deep-sea fish are not poisonous. It can be said that they taste pretty good. They are all high-quality protein. But there is a kind of fish that may contain a slight toxin, and it successfully ate away Fanoka and others. Cronus didn't feel anything unusual because of his strong physical fitness. But Tetsuo still received a violent beating. How brave you are to dare to serve this kind of unsafe food on the table. After being beaten, Tetsuo was forced to sign a contract not to bring unknown ingredients to the table. This time the toxicity is not strong, it's just diarrhea. If the poison is more intense, the whole group will not be destroyed. The toxicity of this unknown food must be verified first. Jeffu came up with the idea of preparing food on the ship and followed William's old cows. Jeffu plans to let them try it first, but it turns out that he failed. Lao Niu doesn't eat meat. Jeffu decided to buy some dogs for drug testing later. William has been working hard to exercise during this time and has been developing his fruit abilities. In his spare time, he had to wash everyone's underwear. The underwear he won for himself on the Sabaody Islands had to be washed even if he cried. Is that the Fishman Island? Fanoka looked at the Fishman Island, which was wrapped in a big bubble and exuded brilliance. The Fishman Island is much more spectacular than the Emerald Island. I have to say that there are many incredible places on the sea. Cronus also felt magical after seeing it. Emerald Island and Fishman Island are both islands under the sea, but the treatment between them is completely different. Emerald Island is uninhabited and is a paradise for marine fish. Fishman Island has developed its own civilization. Cronus was a little irritable during this period. Speaking of which, he didn't get the 2 cat fruits, the Paramecia devil fruit and the 2nd generation Muramasa in the Sabaody Islands. What a big loss. His money just slipped away right in front of his eyes, and it's all Marine's fault. The port we are going to land at now is the Coral Hill of Fishman Island. It is one of the important ports of Fishman Island and is very prosperous. As a navigator, Lafitte had already explored the geography of Fishman Island in advance. Okay, let's stop, Cronus ordered to Lafitte and others. As one of the important ports of Fishman Island, Coral Hill usually receives distinguished guests from Fishman Island. Without an invitation from Fishman Island, pirates cannot land from Coral Hill. But Cronus and others have never been to Fishman Island, and no one knows this situation. Pirates usually land on Fishman Island from the ship graveyard in the forest of the sea. The residents of Fishman Island have a natural hatred for humans. Those who can travel 10,000 meters under the sea to Fishman Island are usually vicious pirates and human traffickers. Many compatriots on Fishman Island were once kidnapped by human traffickers and sold as slaves on the sea, and they were still the best slaves on the sea. Demand exceeds supply. This situation lasted until Fishman Island was included in Whitebeard's sphere of influence. At that time, no pirates or human traffickers dared to blatantly capture the native residents of Fisherman Island. The identities of pirates and human traffickers change each other, and the pirates who come to Fishman Island don't mind playing the role of human traffickers. However, privately, this business has never been discontinued, but it has just turned from bright to dark. As long as there is demand and the price can be afforded, there will always be those who are bold. The port of Coral Hill is very prosperous, but I don't know if pearls and corals in the sea are worthless or if there is overcapacity. It was placed on Coral Hill as a decoration. The pearls and corals used for decoration are the best on the sea. It's a treasure that needs to be robbed, but in Fishman Island these are ordinary building materials used to decorate the port. Cronus hated to see things being wasted. He decided to make a fortune after climbing the Coral Hill. Take as much of these things as you can, bring them to the sea and sell them to the landlords and old wealth. As soon as Cronus and others climbed onto the Coral Hill, they were surrounded by the King's Legion of Fishman Island. As a vicious criminal who killed the celestial dragons, I still know Fishman Island, the flag of the Kronos Pirates. Kronos, who had just got off the wind and waves brave, looked at the warm welcome from Fishman Island. Am I already famous to this extent? Even Fishman Island has my crazy fans. Everyone looked at Cronus' narcissistic look and quickly distanced themselves from Cronus, fearing that Cronus would affect their IQ. Captain Cronus, King Neptune invites you. A guard from the king's army stood up and invited Cronus. Ha ha ha. King Neptune of Fishman Island has also heard my story. Since the king invited me, I, the Kronos Pirates, will not be respectful. Cronus accepted Neptune's invitation. He is not some perverted fighting maniac. When he goes to a certain place, he will quarrel with the people in that place. I want to buy some pearls and high-quality corals from Fishman Island. If I can go through King Neptune's channels, I will definitely get better and more. The ordinary fishmen and mermaids in the Coral Hill of Fishman Island are watching the Kronos Pirates wave rider. No one has ever seen such a rare thing. They have seen a lot of pirate ships, but they have never seen a pirate ship like this one, which is as chubby as a fat-headed fish. Especially since this pirate ship was able to penetrate 10,000 meters deep into the sea without being coated, they had seen this with their own eyes. The king's army of Fishman Island began to organize and maintain order, preventing these residents from touching the pirate ship of the Kronos Pirates. Cronus and others were divided into two groups. One group stayed on the pirate ship. The other group followed Cronus and prepared to meet King Neptune for a while. Fishman Island is a member of the world government, and King Neptune also has the right to participate in the world government. Neptune can also be regarded as a wise monarch who is loved by the people of Fishman Island. Neptune and Jinbei are discussing the Kronos Pirates at the palace. Neptune held the wanted poster in his hand and said to Jinbei, who was standing next to Chao, "Jinbei, what do you think Cronus and others have in coming to Fishman Island? Is it good or bad for Fishman Island?" Jinbei is now the captain of the Fishman Island King's Guard. After listening to Neptune's words, Jinbei smiled and said, "I learned about the Kronos Pirates from the news and intelligence. The captain of the Kronos Pirates, Cronus, is not a murderous pirate, in addition to being rewarded by the world government for killing the celestial dragon. I usually just like to rob my fellow pirates. My reputation among pirates is already terrible." Princess Odahime was leaning next to Neptune at this time. "We'd better meet in person first." Chapter 62 Cronus. I want to do business with King Neptune. Cronus successfully arrived at the royal palace of Fishman Island in a carriage carried by VIPs from Fishman Island. Cronus could see the huge figure of Neptune, as well as Jinbei and Princess Odahime standing next to him. Cronus looked at the size difference between Neptune and Odahime. How on earth could they have a child together? This is not the first time Cronus has raised such a question. The pirate world is really unreasonable in this regard. Cronus was deeply impressed by Jinbei. After all, he is the future 7 warlords of the sea. Princess Odahime is also a great fighter who has been fighting to eliminate misunderstandings between humans and fishmen so that fishmen and mermaids can live on the sea. Although Princess Odahime's idea is a bit naive, it does not prevent Cronus from respecting Princess Odahime. The captain of the Kronos Pirates is really a distinguished guest. King Neptune's voice came over. The bridal sedan bearers carry people. Cronus was not the kind of person who didn't give face, so he headed towards Neptune. A hug with Neptune, Jinbei, and Princess Odahime. It is also an honor for me, Cronus, to meet King Neptune of Fishman Island. Although King Neptune was a little surprised by Cronus' embrace, Cronus's behavior was different from the description he saw in the news. So enthusiastic, Cronus smiled brightly, and he didn't look like a vicious criminal. Behind Cronus stood Vanoka and Lafitte. Cronus brought the two of them here because they were more aristocratic. Being by your side will not make you weak in appearance. The two parties just complimented each other and walked towards the depths of the palace. In the Dragon Palace city, Cronus and King Neptune sat opposite each other. After the two exchanged pleasantries, Neptune also learned that Cronus planned to enter the New World and was only passing by Fishman Island temporarily. Cronus entered the topic. King Neptune, I have another unwelcome request. I want to buy some corals and pearls on Fishman Island. I hope King Neptune can sell me some corals and pearls. If so, of course it would be better to have some souvenirs from Fishman Island. After hearing what Cronus said, Neptune thought Cronus was making an unreasonable request. Just want some pearls and coral. There are too many of these things to pile up on Fishman Island. The high-quality ones may be less, but they are by no means expensive. Neptune patted his chest and said boldly, what do I think? If it's just some pearls, corals, etc., I make the decision and I can sell them to you as much as you want. Pearls and corals are really worthless on Fishman Island, although Neptune also knows that they can be sold at a very high price if shipped to the sea. But it would be great if the merchants of Fishman Island can go to the sea without being captured and made into slaves. Those who are capable will not become merchants. The finances of Fishman Island are pretty good, so there is no need to make plans in this regard. Most of the corals and pearls on Fishman Island are smuggled by pirates and human traffickers. The quantity is not large, so it is precious. Under the arrangement of King Neptune, Jinbei, as the person in charge of Fishman Island, made contact with the Kronos Pirates. Cronus picked up all the Baileys of the crew and bought a lot of black pearls, jade corals, and some souvenirs from Fishman Island. Of course, Kronos didn't get it for free. After making money in exchange, every crew member will receive dividends. Just divide it according to the Bailey you own. The crew members were all boiling and took out all the Baileys on their bodies. He didn't expect anything in return, and talking about money was too superficial. It was all to support the career of Boss Cronus. Finally, with no money left, Cronus decided to dismantle the cannons he had just bought on the pirate ship, and pay off the debt with King Neptune in exchange for more goods. Neptune was able to sit in this position and had his own political acumen. We know that a strong man like Cronus will definitely soar into the sky as long as he enters the New World and does not fall. Now that I have made good friends with Kronos, it can be regarded as an early investment. I don't know if I can become an angel investor. Agreeing to Cronus's idea of using artillery to trade off the price, boxes and boxes of goods began to be moved to the cabin of the Wind and Waves Brave. Cronus even had an idea for Zefu's cold storage. Zefu stared at him like a thief. After several attempts to persuade Zefu failed, he finally gave up. Cronus couldn't figure out how much money he could earn by transporting this cargo to the sea. But he couldn't calculate it clearly. There were people who could calculate it clearly. Fanoka made a rough estimate. As long as this batch of goods is transported to the sea, he will get at least 1.5 billion Baileys. When Cronus heard the price paid by Vanoka, he opened his mouth and asked, how much do you earn? A rough estimate of 1.5 billion Baileys, Fanoka said calmly. Although he looks calm on the surface, Fanoka is also very excited inside. Isn't it too profitable to be a bad guy? I heard that there is an empty island, and I don't know if there are any unique goods on the empty island. Go to Time and Space Island, Fishman Island, and the sea to defeat them 3 times, so you can't make money and be soft-hearted. Cronus made up his mind in his heart and laid down a territory for himself. You must establish a good relationship with Fishman Island and become the exclusive agent of Fishman Island. The kind of monopoly, then it will be a win-win situation for you and Fishman Island. It's all just pennies. Cronus lost 2 animal elements, a Paramecia devil fruit and second-generation Muramasa's bad mood in the Sabaody Islands, and his bad mood was completely washed away. Robbing things is only done by vulgar people. I, Cronus, am a successful person, and doing business is the right way. This wave directly earned almost half of the brave number. Cronus's plan to recruit troops is also supported by money. The brave waves can accommodate 1,000 people to live comfortably on the ship. If it can accommodate 3,000 people at its maximum, it won't be a problem. Currently, the brave Wind and Waves ship is not full, but Cronus and others also consume a lot of money, and every food supply is a big expense. Although Cronus can borrow from his peers, how much money does the pirate have? Cronus made a lot of money this time when he did business with Fishman Island. If you want to truly become bigger and stronger, you must have your own stable channels for making money. Now Cronus feels that he has found a good way to make money. When the time comes, I will build a piece of territory, buy a batch of weapons production lines from Doflamingo, and tie in a few powerful scientists to help me develop weapons. We are also in the arms business. We can't let Kaido monopolize it all by himself. This cake is so big, it shouldn't be a big problem if I share a little bit. Kaido is very smart when it comes to business. Among the 4 emperors, Kaido and Charlotte Linlin are the richest. Kaido made a lot of money from conch stones and weapons. Charlotte Linlin is everywhere and has connections with many dark giants in the dark world. I also have certain shares in it. There is even an intelligence agency of its own, which also does a little business of buying and selling intelligence. In comparison, Shanks and Whitebeard's finances are much tighter. However, Shanks is just a boatload of people. If the boatload is full and the whole family is not hungry, it does not require too many Baileys. Whitebeard can barely make a living by collecting protection fees. Although he is still living well, he is by no means rich. Chapter 63 There are too many beauties on Fishman Island. In Coral Hill, in a tavern owned by a young and beautiful mermaid proprietress, Cronus and others were having a banquet. This is the tavern that Cronus and others like to visit during this time. The proprietress's service to Cronus and others is not different from that of fishmen. The service attitude is first class. Of course Cronus and the others definitely didn't come here just for the thunder of the beautiful landlady. William, how's your heavy rain sensing skill going? Cronus asked William while drinking. William has recently developed several more practical tips. The wine rain mentioned before was successfully developed by him. Cronus originally wanted to know what the use of this trick was after seeing it. Do you really expect to get the other person drunk with wine? I was just about to criticize William. William taught Cronus a lesson. The rain of wine and the sparks created by William's kicking skills turned into a rain of fire. Cronus looked at the rain of fire in the sky and fell into deep thought. No wonder dogs don't eat the shao fruit. Is there a relationship between rain fruit and fire? But it just so happens that such an unrelated devil fruit can actually use abilities similar to the burning fruit. What a departure. The scope of William's rain is also greater than before, and the rain is also stronger, which can quickly cause major floods. Strength is improving rapidly. William also gave the flood a very irritating name. God's salvation. I don't know which mythological novel he read. It is said that the Great Flood was used by God to cleanse the sins of the world. Fanoka's swordsmanship skills have also made great progress. Now he is holding a large lightsaber and slashing at people. Cronus couldn't help complaining after seeing it. This sniper was so powerful in close combat. Vanoka only replied to Cronus's complaint, how can a sniper be such an inconvenience? Swordsmen all have long-distance attack skills such as slashing. It makes sense for me, a sniper, to know how to use swordsmanship. Jeffu also combines his kicking skills with the ability to store fruits. Anyone kicked by him will be locked in a small dark room. The space Jeffu in the small black room can also control it to a certain extent, and can squeeze people to death by relying on the space. Of course, all this is based on the fact that the gap between the other party and him is not big. William drank a small drink and admired the beautiful boss lady in the distance. My heavy rain sensing technique can basically be used in combat, but there is still room for improvement. Although William was talking to Cronus, his eyes had already drifted towards his chest. The mermaid proprietress is a beauty, and most of the mermaid ladies who come to her tavern have sweet voices. The mermaids' outfits are very eye-catching, and some even have only 2 shells blocking key parts. This half-covered feeling can suck people's soul away. Heaven on earth. Lafitte said from the side. He appreciates beauty. As a man, no one can escape the broad mind of the sweet mermaid lady. Lafitte and the mermaid lady took the initiative to strike up a conversation, which made Jeffu very angry. During this time, he often came to help the beautiful landlady bartend, but why didn't any beautiful mermaid take the initiative to strike up a conversation with him? Could it be that the wine you mixed is not tasty enough? It shouldn't be. The wine he mixed was well received by everyone in the Kronos Pirates, and he also practiced hard. Fanoka glanced at William and asked, what attracts you so much? You almost lost your soul. You are a rich man and don't know how hungry a man is. Your gentleman's dress has attracted the love of many little girls, but I am a rough man and not as good as you. Besides, Boss Kronos has been saying that he wants to recruit female crew members, but so far, the whole ship has been recruited, except for a few ladies who were hired to clean the house some time ago. They're all G big and thick men. William expressed his dissatisfaction that the pie painted by Cronus has never been fulfilled. Cronus couldn't help but speak when William changed the subject to him. I've been looking for it too, but there are so many beautiful and capable female crew members waiting for me. William pursed his lips. In the final analysis, I just don't want to. It would be easy for the Kronos Pirates to forcefully kidnap some beautiful women onto the ship, but the Kronos Pirates still retain their basic qualities. If I did that, would I still be a human being? The crew members he recruits can have blood on their hands, but they must not force good people into prostitution, bullying honest people. The fighting between pirates can also be explained by the black eating the black. But it is absolutely unacceptable to go against your own heart and do something that is unconscionable. Cronus and others were making a fuss. The scenery of Fishman Island made them reluctant to leave, but they still had to leave in a few days. Occasionally adjustments are fine, but if you stay in Gentle Village for too long, your hull will be completely corroded. While Cronus and others were having a banquet, a group of pirates broke in from Coral Hill. Their captain has a bounty of 90 million belly, and ordinary members of the king's army can't stop them at all. They're planning to catch a few mermaids and run away. When they got to the sea and sold the mermaids, they could live happily for a while. This is a group of extremely vicious pirates who neither take Fishman Island's status as a member of the world government nor the majesty of Whitebeard in their eyes. Whitebeard is nothing. If Laozi enters the new world, cut off his head and play it as a ball. Cyclops, the captain of the one-eyed pirates, yelled at his obedient subordinates. He had already led a group of people into the mermaid tavern where Cronus and others were. The atmosphere of the banquet held by Cronus and others was disturbed by this sentence. Cronus also wanted to see what kind of big shot he was, but he didn't take Whitebeard seriously. Do you know this guy who broke in? Cronus asked everyone. I don't know you. Cronus thought about it carefully, and it seemed that there was no famous person in the sea like the person in front of him. While Kronos was questioning, the one-eyed pirates captured several more mermaids in the mermaid tavern, and the scene was in chaos. Everyone in the Kronos Pirates was immediately furious. This one-eyed dragon caught the mermaid lady serving them in front of them. Wasn't this a slap in their faces? William screamed and rushed forward, punched the Cyclops, then quickly ran behind the Cyclops and kicked him again. There was also a rain of wine floating on the head of the one-eyed dragon. This was the first time that he used this technique in actual combat. As he kicked out sparks, the one-eyed dragon began to howl in the rain of fire. William started to kick the one-eyed dragon like a fireball, and kicked hard towards the door of the tavern. Knock off! William's brave appearance left a deep impression on several mermaid ladies captured by the one-eyed dragon pirates. They looked at William with stars in their eyes. William's luck has arrived. Open black lens bracket 5th update presented. I'm asking for a free gift. Bow. Close black lens bracket chapter 64 invitation Jinbei. Coral Hill. Brave waves. Cronus looked at the pirate group's hard work moving pearls and corals and nodded with satisfaction. As expected, every one of them treated the dividends as their own business. I am really a conscientious captain, unlike those black-hearted entrepreneurs in previous lives who only knew how to draw big pie but did not know how to cash in. If Cronus dared to speak in front of William, William would definitely criticize him, and the beauty crew's pie would not be fulfilled. The crew also picked up some worthless shells from Fishman Island, and after polishing them, they could be used to decorate the Wave Rider. As for using high-end products such as black pearls and white jade corals for decoration, of course Cronus disagreed. These are all treasures and wealth, how can they be used for decoration? Of course you have to keep your life simple. You can't be dazzled by the colorful world. This is also a kind of exercise for your crew members. There is never a lack of beauty in life, but there is a lack of eyes to discover beauty. Why do you have to keep an eye on those valuable goods? Lafitte didn't realize that you still have artistic talent. You put these ordinary shells together, and they look so good. Cronus praised Lafitte next to him. What a great way to save yourself money. Lafitte separated the shells of different sizes, outlined them like a painting, and then slightly modified them with paint to create a beautiful portrait. What Lafitte is working on right now is a picture of a mermaid. Lafitte produced several such paintings, and of course Lafitte's works were all in public areas. Of course you have to take care of your own private space. Otherwise, everyone on the ship will have to help themselves, and he will not die of exhaustion. Cronus thought of the miserable condition of his room. He decided to ask Lafitte to help him do it, otherwise if a beautiful woman returns to the captain's cabin with him in the future. The terrifying style of painting will make people suspect that he has some strange habits. Lafitte, make my captain's cabin more beautiful, talent requires more work. When the time comes, I sell this batch of goods, and I will give you more Baileys. Cronus patted Lafitte on the shoulder, then threw all the shells he had collected from the remote desert beach of Fishman Island to Lafitte and ran away. Lafitte looked at the large bags of shells dropped by Cronus and covered his head. Brother Cronus is good at everything, but he really lacks nerve when it comes to art. Then I thought of Captain Cronus's thrilling painting style. It can't be said that Cronus has no artistic talent. He is still very talented in grounding the earth. How can shells be related to horror? Brother Cronus is also a talented person. When Cronus ran out, he saw William salvaging pebbles. It is planned to lay a layer of pebbles on the ground as decoration. Cronus would not undermine the subjective initiative of the crew, although he felt that the cobblestones on the ground would be a bit awkward. Cronus greeted William and gritted his teeth when he saw several mermaid ladies following William. Sure enough, the best way to make a woman give up her life is to be a hero and save her. Why did William react so quickly? When William saw Cronus, he also shook his hand symbolically as a greeting. Then he ignored Cronus and concentrated on chatting with his mermaid lady. Cronus met Jinbei when he was wandering around the Coral Hill. Cronus, the fat blue man, had a very good impression of him. Most of the fine products in this batch of goods were the result of transactions brokered by Jinbei. After all, the real high-quality goods are usually in the hands of the residents of Fishman Island. If you want them to sell them to Cronus, the local gangsters must not take action. Jinbei is such a local snake. Jinbei patrols. Jinbei turned around and saw Cronus sighing. The Fishman Island is not peaceful. There are pirates from time to time. What can we do if we don't strengthen patrols? Speaking of which, Captain Cronus, your cargo has almost been delivered. Do you want to stay here for a few more days? Our culture on Fishman Island is still very good, Jinbei invited Cronus. Of course Cronus knows that the atmosphere of Fishman Island is good. There are beautiful and scantily clad mermaid ladies all over the place, so how can it be bad? Because of William's heroic rescue of the beauty, the entire Fishman Island's attitude towards the Kronos Pirates has changed, from the initial indifferent treatment to the warm greeting now. No, we'll set off early tomorrow morning. It's been almost a week since we were delayed at Fishman Island and it's time to set off. Cronus and the fat blue man Jinbei chatted side by side. Jinbei was very interested in the world on the sea when chatting with Cronus, and also mentioned his big brother Tiger who was adventuring on the sea. Jinbei, are you interested in going to New World with me? I think you are very good at it. As long as you get on the ship, I promise to be a cadre for you. If you can recruit other fishmen, I can also give you the position of Special Operations Team Leader. The fishmen on Fishman Island are managed by you. I will never interfere. Cronus also wanted to try and invite Jinbei before he left. This is completely a waste of time. Although I know there is a high probability that Jinbei will not agree, but what if it succeeds? Jinbei smiled and waved his hand. Although I also want to go to sea, but now I am the guard of Fishman Island. If I leave, who will protect them? Jinbei is now a civil servant with royal rations and an official establishment. Speaking of which, there is no benefit to going to sea with Cronus. Jinbei has a deep affection for Fishman Island. After Whitebeard died in the war, he joined the Big Mom Pirates alone in order to protect Fishman Island. He is a man who values friendship. I'll always have a place for you here. If you want to go to sea one day, remember to give me priority. Cronus patted Jinbei. Jinbei nodded. If I really choose to join the pirate group, I will consider it when the time comes. Cronus and Jinbei exchanged phone bug signals with each other, continued to pull Jinbei's nonsense. Cronus still refused to give up and wanted to build a fishman army. There are so many empty cabins on my own ship, so I don't want to recruit more talents. Jinbei, do you have any recommendations for any good fishmen compatriots? As long as you get on the ship, you will have 5 insurances and 1 housing fund, 5 days off and 2 days off, and I guarantee that everything will be arranged for you. Cronus continued to ask Jinbei. Jinbei was stunned for a moment. Is Captain Kronos so obsessed with fishmen? The Fishmen tribe has an inherent advantage in a world dominated by the sea. As long as the base is sufficient, there is no doubt that it is a terrifying force. Jinbei suddenly thought of something. Didn't he have a fellow fishman named Aaron who was very discriminatory towards humans and was even paranoid? Everyone comes from Fishman Street. Boss Tiger went to the sea to be an adventurer and chose to defend the Fishman Island. Aaron is still idle, so it is completely feasible to introduce him to Captain Cronus for education for a period of time. It can also make Aaron no longer so paranoid. Captain Cronus, I have a problem boy here, if you need anything. Cronus was afraid that Jinbei would regret it. What kind of troubled boy? They don't exist, they are all good kids who have lost their way in life. Chapter 65 Aaron. The wind and waves brave appeared in the waters of the New World. Cronus stood on the deck and breathed the air of New World. He couldn't help but howl loudly. New World, we are coming. New World is not that mysterious. The scenery is similar to the first half of the Grand Line, except for water. William looked at the surrounding scenery. He originally thought it was strange, but now it seems that it is nothing more than that. Don't underestimate this sea area. The reason why the first half of the Grand Line is called a paradise is because the weather in New World is more unpredictable than the first half of the Grand Line. As a navigator, Lafitte certainly knew these things and reminded William. Just when William expressed disdain for what Lafitte said, there was a sawtooth shark man tied up in the corner. I don't know what I'm saying even though I'm moaning. William took the smelly socks away from Aaron's mouth. You damn humans, you actually insulted the great fish man. If I find a chance, I will kill you all. Aaron is shouting. William continued to stuff the smelly socks into Aaron's mouth with his backhand. He's really not a worry-free guy, not much in strength, but quite a bit in tone. Aaron has been thinking about escaping since he was thrown onto the boat by Jinbei from Fishman Island. Cronus was also surprised when he saw Aaron. This is not Nami's nightmare in the future. The fishman Aaron is stirring up trouble in the East China Sea. Aaron is a nationalist, and an extreme nationalist. Has no favorable opinion of all races except fish and merfolk. They even think that other races except fish and mermaids are not worthy of living. Nami suffered a lot from him, but now he has become his little brother. It can only be said that fate plays a trick on people. From now on, the East China Sea will have one less scourge and one more elite member of the Kronos Pirates. Although Aaron is only 10 years old, as a fishman, his physical fitness is still very good in all aspects. Especially the sawtooth sharkman among the Murlocs, whose physical fitness can be said to be excellent among the Murlocs. Cronus handed Aaron over to William for training, believing that William would let him know what the rules of the Kronos Pirates were. William did not beat or scold Aaron, but Aaron wanted to escape from William. However, he didn't run very far before William held him by the back of his neck and pulled him back. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much you hate humans. As long as you join the Kronos Pirates, you have to treat this place as your home. Jinbei entrusted you to us because he wanted you to become a talented person, so I have the obligation to educate you for Jinbei. William said earnestly. William discovered that he also had a talent for educating people. This feeling of teaching earnestly was really refreshing. For this reason, William privately asked Fanoka for advice on how to educate children. How could Fanoka know this? However, William just felt that Fanoka knew more, so he asked him for advice enthusiastically, but Fanoka could only deceive him. When treating children, you must influence them with love. Fanoka read what he read in the book. Although he didn't know whether it was correct or not, it shouldn't be a big problem to fool a fool like William. Love. How can love arise between myself and a man? William was confused. Isn't it a matter of love or not between a man and a woman? What does it have to do with a brat like Aaron? I still prefer beautiful mermaid girls. William thought hard and realized it. First heard that marine hero Garp has a love-loving iron fist. Is it necessary to use his fist to influence him? That must be the case. Aaron has become what he is now. Aaron was still thinking that there was nothing special about William being stronger than him and physically stronger than him. When I grow up, I will have your good fruits to eat. When Aaron was thinking wildly, William began to influence him with love. I found a few thinner anchors to use as chains, and tied Aaron up like this. At the same time, I stuffed the smelly socks I just wore today into Aaron's mouth. Aaron can definitely feel his deep love. Sure enough, as long as there is love in the world, everything is beautiful. Fan Oka sincerely won't deceive me. Aaron's eyes were filled with tears as he smelled the terrible smell. I also hate humans more and more in my heart. Sure enough, humans are a bunch of scum that don't deserve to live in the world. Hail as big as a hill began to fall from the sky, and William opened his mouth wide. I originally said that there was nothing scary about New World, but why did it come so fast? Quick, dive under the water. Lafitte began to give orders. The hail came so quickly that the Kronos Pirates were not prepared at all. Aaron looked at the huge hail with despair in his eyes. Could it be that he was about to die under the impact of such a huge hail just after he went to sea? Everyone in the Kronos Pirates began to get busy, and Van Oka fired a burst of firepower at the huge hail mountain. The hail broke into countless small pieces and scattered in the sea. Cronus kicked the hailstone as big as a hill with great force. The hail began to fly towards the distance, making a whooshing sound. Aaron was completely desperate. There was a hailstone on top of his head, and it was about to hit him. At this time William took action, and the sky began to rain heavily. God's salvation. The floods rolled up huge hailstones and surged toward the sea. Aaron also breathed a sigh of relief. I'm saved. Although this group of hateful humans have very poor character, they are surprisingly strong. It seems that this huge hail can't do anything to them. I feel really happy. But I immediately realized how happy I was. With such strength, how will I survive the rest of my life? Thinking of this makes me want to die instantly. The Kronos Pirates and Roger Pirates who had just left Fishman Island just passed each other. Cronus moves really fast, Roger said with a smile. If it wasn't because you delayed a little longer, we would have arrived at New World long ago. Rayleigh rolled her eyes at Roger. Don't say that. I will be very sad. Roger put on a sad expression. The whole ship looked at Roger like this. You are the only one who is sad. After Shiki let Roger escape again, he returned to the New World and began to attack Kaido and Charlotte Linlin. Shiki is very obsessed with Roger, but he has no such good intentions for Charlotte Linlin and Kaido who dare to challenge him. Charlotte Linlin Wangguo, which was just founded, has ushered in the airdrop of 2 islands. Charlotte Linlin looked at the messy sea area of the world, and her heart was speechless. Shiki's Piaopaguo was too shameless. After Shiki's revenge, he did not take back the robbed territory. He had more important things to do. Some time ago, traces of Roger were found in the Sabaody Islands, so Roger should return to the New World next. Shiki has been sending people to inquire about Roger. After Roger enters the New World, he will send a large fleet to make a final invitation to Roger. If Roger refuses, kill him. There is a limit to your own patience. I was willing to share the world with Roger, but Roger kept rejecting me. Could it be that I was really so unbearable? Chapter 66 New World becomes nervous. The waters near Wano country. Dad, that dogskin plaster has been following you. Are you really not going to accept him? Marco, the pineapple head, asked Whitebeard. Let him follow. Whitebeard didn't want to accept Odin. Odin is the general of Wano. Why does Whitebeard think it would be troublesome if he has anything to do with Wano? Go and gather everyone in the air fleet. Don't stay too far away from me during this period. As soon as I find Roger's latest whereabouts, I will make a break with Roger. Shiki said to the men next to him. Order. Are we finally going to take action against Roger? Everyone in the Shiki Pirates heard Shiki's words and started laughing. Shiki was too indulgent towards Roger and was able to destroy the Roger Pirates many times. But because he admired Roger too much in his heart, he let go every time. This also made everyone in the Golden Lion Pirates dissatisfied with Roger for a long time. Laozi is willing to share the world with him, but he has repeatedly refused. We can no longer let him go on like this. I heard that he has been looking for historical texts recently and seems to have discovered something. If Roger continues to explore, sooner or later he will become a serious problem for Laozi. Shiki also knows about historical texts. But apart from O'Hara's group of scholars, he couldn't think of anyone who could understand the text of history. I haven't heard of any scholars from O'Hara joining the Roger Pirates. But Shiki knew that Roger was looking for the historical text and must be able to understand it. He didn't know how Roger did it, but he had a hunch that Roger could understand it. This may be the sixth sense gained from many confrontations with Roger. Shiki is not interested in the truth of history, but the historical text records not only history, but also ancient weapon Pluto, Poseidon, Uranus. The whereabouts of these ancient weapons are all recorded in historical texts. Uranus, controlled by the Draco, Pluton and Poseidon. The whereabouts of Poseidon are said to be recorded in a certain historical text. Although these messages have not been clearly confirmed, who dares to say that they are false? The main text of history is full of all kinds of legends. No one dares to easily deny what is recorded in the main text of history. Otherwise, why would the world government prohibit people from exploring it? The Golden Lion doesn't think that Pluton and Poseidon are any better than his fluttering fruit? According to legend, the island can be wiped out with one shot. It is also very simple to achieve the same effect by using Piao Piao fruit. But it just made him feel like he had a lump in his throat. The current Golden Lion is not the submissive old lion in the future. He has strong confidence in himself. He can do what rocks cannot do. He is the only overlord Golden Lion among the pirates. Soon, the information about the Golden Lion pirates began to move. The news that Shiki began to gather the Sky Pirates also caused a storm in the New World. The most nervous ones are Charlotte Linlin and Kaido. They thought that the Golden Lion was going to retaliate, and the two also began to recruit troops. As long as all the pirates encountered on the sea are recruited, it will be good to increase their combat power. As for the elite of his own pirate group, he always guards him. In the New World, pirate forces began to integrate rapidly, and small pirates could only be continuously absorbed by larger pirate groups. Whitebeard has not received the news for the time being, and is still dragging that idiot Odin to drift in the sea. The situation in the New World began to become tense, and the Beehive Island where Ochaku was located also began to be strictly guarded, with only entry and no exit allowed. All this is just because the Golden Lion wants to find Roger and makes one last invitation to Roger. This is a choice between life and death. If Roger promised himself, Golden Lion would still be willing to share the world with him equally as before. But if Roger rejects him, then Roger's pirate career will be over. There will be no one left alive under the fluttering fruit. The Flying Fleet is the strongest pirate force now. Cronus and others were wandering in the New World and received news of the tense situation in the New World. But Cronus was not nervous. The muddier the water in the New World, the better for fishing in troubled waters. Roger is still on Fishman Island and has no idea what he will face when he enters the New World. Marine looked at the chaotic New World and began to deploy troops in the direction of the New World. Are these pirates planning to unite and break out of the New World? Although this possibility is very small, Marine had to be careful, and Marine began to operate at high speed. Just one fuse is missing, and New World will completely start a new round of struggle for kingship. After being taught by William's love, Aaron can basically say goodbye to the Iron Chain. However, as a fishman, William has been keeping an eye on him, fearing that he would run away from the sea. Aaron has been holding back, waiting for an opportunity to be completely free. Brother William, I heard that Captain Cronus can activate the Devil Fruit ability in the seawater. Is it true? Aaron was asking about all the risks that could hinder his escape. William heard Aaron coming over to greet him with a smile. After asking about the situation of the pirate group, I thought that Aaron, under the education of his love, began to change his mind and wanted to be an outstanding crew member of the Kronos Pirate group. He patted Aaron on the shoulder. Boss Cronus's perverted ability is not something that everyone has. He is the only one in the sea. Although he didn't say it clearly, Aaron also got the answer he wanted. William suddenly thought, if the fishman is allowed to eat the devil fruit, will the fishman drown in the sea? Fishmen are a race favored by the sea, while those with devil fruit abilities are hated by the sea. So will the fishman drown, or can he freely use the fruit ability in the sea? William felt that he had discovered a bug. If he could eat the devil fruit and freely use his abilities in the sea, wouldn't he be invincible? William was ignorant, but at this time he was extremely excited. He really had the talent to be a scholar. Aaron, let me ask you a question. Have any of you fishmen eaten devil fruits? William said to Aaron. With urgency, if not, I can really be called the first person in history. Aaron looked at William's excited expression and didn't know what he was thinking. Yes. Sure enough, William was excited. Then can we freely use the fruit's power in the water? After all, fishmen are a race blessed by the sea, so it is possible to get rid of the side effects of the devil fruit. Aaron looked at William like he was a fool. Of course not, but I won't drown. William was instantly discouraged. He thought he had discovered some shocking bug, but it turned out that he was still a clown. Chapter 67 The Beast Island near the Advor Sea. In the captain's room of the Brave Waves, Cronus brought a rocking chair and held a New World map summary in his hand. He snatched this from a second-rate New World pirate. Speaking of which, he also grabbed several summaries of hockey and how to cultivate powerful hockey from this second-rate pirate. If you don't master hockey, this is still a good thing, but after a rough look, the hockey skills in it are not much more sophisticated than what you have mastered. So throw these books into the temporary library so that the new pirates who join in the future don't have to teach them one by one. Go to the library and study by yourself. Cronus never liked reading, but he fell in love with reading for some reason during this time. It may be a fishing competition in the New World waters with William, Finoka, Lafitte, Zeph, Aaron and others. It has something to do with the fact that every time I fight in the Air Force, others gain a lot. The sea area of the New World has no fate with him, and now Cronus and Zeph have the same wish. There are many fish in the sea area of all blue. I believe it will be very fateful for me. I don't believe that I can still fight in the Air Force in a place like that. Under such a blow, Cronus felt that he loved reading more than fishing. I felt sleepy as soon as I watched Cronus. After a few hours of adaptation, sleeping enough, I gradually became able to see some things. Cronus studied it carefully, and then his door rang. Just as he was about to say, "Please come in," the unqualified guy outside the door walked in on his own. Fan Oka took his small pipe, took out a cigarette, carefully crushed the tobacco into his pipe, and walked in with a gentleman's steps. I saw Cronus reading a book and was about to praise Cronus. But if you look carefully at the lower right corner of the book, there is still a puddle of saliva that has not been dried. "What the hell are you doing? You can't go fishing, so you come here and read a book," Van Oka said to Cronus with a smile. After finishing speaking, he also handed a cigarette to Cronus. Cronus took the cigarette and turned his head, not wanting to pay attention to Van Oka. Fan Oka obviously doesn't open the pot and pick up the pot. If you can catch it yourself, you will come to read a book. Fan Oka's hands turned into red iron and he quickly lit his pipe. He also lit Cronus' cigarette by the way. The two began to smoke, and Fan Oka was now more and more inseparable from his exquisite cigarette. Fan Oka turned sideways, wanting to see what kind of book Cronus was reading. "Let me see what kind of masterpiece our Captain Cronus is reading. Isn't it something like making love with heaven that won't pass the test?" "Nonsense. How can I appreciate that kind of crap?" Cronus handed over his New World map outline. Fan Oka was shocked when he saw the outline of the New World map. It's not the intimate paradise you used to go to the island to buy from time to time. The sun is really rising in the west. Cronus felt insulted. Would I watch something like Kissing Heaven? That is obviously for a rough guy like William to watch. Fan Oka shook his head. As the person who knew William best, he could hear the flaw in Cronus' words as soon as he heard it. "You're wrong. William doesn't like to read books that are all text. He likes to read books with pictures." Fan Oka took out a book from nowhere. It was a book about weapons theory, and Fan Oka started chewing on it. Speaking of reading, Lafitte, Van Oka and Tetsuo really like it. Everyone has different tastes. Fan Oka likes to see weapons, Lafitte likes to see geographical discoveries and weather perception types, and Jeffu likes to see recipes. Those who don't like reading are Cronus, William, and now Aaron. This combination seems evenly matched. Cronus saw Van Oka reading a book seriously and didn't want to disturb him. He just kept reading his geographical summary. New World's large and small islands have a brief introduction to the geographical outline, and Cronus also wants to see which area or island he should choose as his base camp. The islands inside are large and small, but most of them are marked with spheres of influence, and a large area is occupied by golden lions. Are you waiting for the golden lion to fall before you build a stronghold? This is obviously impossible. Cronus wanted to see islands with good natural conditions and convenient transportation. Beehive Island is also introduced in it, but it is currently occupied by the Big One Piece. The geographical conditions of Beehive Island are good, and there is no extremely bad weather around the island. The surrounding area is also known to be safe channels in the New World, but it is obviously not a wise move to fight Ochaku now. Ochaku has been operating on Beehive Island for so many years and spent so much money. I have to settle in the New World for a while before I can compete with him for the home of Beehive Island. Cronus was very satisfied with Beehive Island. Blackbeard was able to choose Beehive Island as his base camp, which was undoubtedly due to its excellent natural conditions. However, the humanistic conditions on Beehive Island are not that good. It is a place where villains and pirates live. Also known as one of the most chaotic islands in the world. Ochaku's management of Beehive Island is also free range. As long as you pay the money, no matter what kind of things you commit anywhere in the world, you can be protected on Beehive Island. Cronus felt more and more that he was destined to be Blackbeard, so he poached 2 of his crew members, and now he was interested in his future base camp. Will you achieve something in the future? All members of the Blackbeard group are packed? Cronus continued to look and saw the island near the Advor Sea, Beast Island, Komodo. Van Oka, do you know Komodo Island in New World? Cronus asked Van Oka. He has some ideas for Komodo Island. Van Oka, who was reading a book, was stunned for a moment when he heard Cronus' words. If he hadn't entered the New World, he might not even know about Komodo Island. But during this time, I kept hearing Lafitte say that Komodo Island, an island full of beasts, is very suitable as a temporary base camp for the Kronos Pirates. Lafitte was going to tell Cronus 2 days later, but at this time Cronus took the initiative to ask him. Of course I have heard of Komodo Island. Lafitte likes this island very much. The natural conditions of the island are good, but there are just no people living there. The entire island is occupied by ferocious beasts. If you have an idea for Komodo Island, developing it must be a big project, said Van Oka. Cronus listened to Van Oka's words and touched his chin. There are many ferocious beasts. As a person with the animal-type fantasy beast ability, will I be afraid of ferocious beasts? Cronus also had an immature idea to keep these beasts in captivity as a barrier for the Kronos Pirates on Komodo Island. Komodo, the beast island near the Advor Sea, does not belong to anyone's sphere of influence. Komodo is also particularly suitable to become the transportation hub of the New World. Komodo is located in the middle area of several major spheres of influence, and there are basically no decent islands nearby. If you want to resupply, you can only resupply at Beast Island. In the past, due to the natural environment of Beast Island, Most ships would prepare sufficient supplies in advance to bypass Beast Island. The more supplies you prepare, the less goods you need to transport. This creates a huge amount of waste during shipping. But if Beast Island is developed, it will inevitably become an island with developed economy and trade. This is all money. Let's make that a temporary base camp, Cronus said to Vanoka. Cronus could only regard it as a temporary base camp. Komodo Island is not a large island, it can only be regarded as a medium-sized island. It can be used as a temporary base camp, but it still lacks certain conditions to become a real base camp. After all, there are few surrounding islands and there are no conditions for expansion. Beehive Island is the best. Not only is it a large island, there are many small and medium-sized islands with good conditions around it. You can definitely spread your power there. Your thoughts are exactly the same as Lafitte's. Should I be called a captain? Vanoka said with a smile. Chapter 68 Long resigns. 5th update, Marine Headquarters Marinefondo. The tense situation in New World made all the Marines in the headquarters walk much faster, and information from New World was also continuously collected. Long is currently in his office, writing his 3rd resignation report. Cronus' words touched him so much that he planned to leave Marine and go to the sea again to find new justice. However, his resignation report was not approved by Cyborg Fleet Admiral, and the resignation letter was sent to Garp. After reading the contents of Long's resignation letter, Garp became furious. Give your son a lesson in love. Leave Marine. Can you alone achieve true justice? Don't be so naive, Dragon. Although Marine has many shortcomings, who can deny Marine's justice now? Without Marine, the world will be in chaos immediately. Garp's words kept lingering in Long's ears. His sheep father may be right, but people should always have some ideals, and what should they pursue? Garp's behavior also confirmed that Long will leave Marine to develop independently outside. Repeatedly and repeatedly could not be repeated. The first 2 resignation letters were rejected. Long plans to leave Marine completely this time even if Cyborg Fleet Admiral doesn't give him approval. Originally he had a bright future, but now he feels more and more uncomfortable staying at Marine headquarters. You are the future Fleet Admiral of Marine, and you will lead Marine to a better tomorrow. Long always thinks of all kinds of words and every bit of life in Marine. He has feelings for Marine, but he is not free either. Even pirates have freedom, but he is tightly bound to Marine and cannot have freedom. The last content of the resignation letter also fell under his pen. He gently placed the resignation letter under a pile of documents on the corner of the table and pressed it down. The situation in New World is tense now, and it is a good time for him to leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't have a chance to leave. Marine has also strengthened his management during this period. He has to report his location on time. What is he doing? After the first resignation letter was handed in, he had to start reporting his itinerary, and there were more people monitoring him. Laozi is a Marine hero, and his son must also be a Marine. This concept has to change. Maybe if you go out, it will be another world. He bowed solemnly towards Marine headquarters as a token of his gratitude for living in Marine. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on his door, and he was startled, and then he saw the figures of Guion and Perusolino. How could you enter someone's office without their permission? Long was still frightened. Ha ha ha. What kind of relationship do we have? I've seen your bare butt when you were a child. Why are you embarrassed now? Guion teased. Perusolino looked lazy. Ryu, it was Guion who forced me to come in. You are alienating yourself. Guion stared at Perusolino. Perusolino was stared at. No, I came in on my own initiative. That's pretty much it. Guion is a flower in the new generation of Marine. Perusolino is afraid that Guion will put his own shoes on. There are countless Marines in Marine who admire Guion. I've been alone all the time these days. Staying indoors for a long time is bad for your health. Do you want to go out for a walk? Guion Chaolong invited. The dragon nodded. Then the 3 people walked towards the street outside Marine headquarters. Little Garp went to New World. Why didn't you go with him? Or maybe you were imprisoned in Marineland due to the influence of your resignation letter, Guion Chaolong joked. Long shook his head. Of course, it's not that Garp didn't take him there, it was just that he didn't want to go. If he was with the old man, how could he have the nerve to leave the old man and run away? Long still couldn't bear to hurt the expectations of Garp, an old Marine. He felt that he was quite a jerk. Garp had great expectations for him, but what he wanted to do was contrary to Garp's ideas. Don't think so much. Let's go. I'll take you to the party. Speaking of which, our group of young Marine officers haven't been together for a long time. This time, it's thanks to the blessing of the Golden Lion. Guion led the 2 people rushed towards a tavern in a hurry. The sign of the pub is hanging crookedly, and a specific name can no longer be seen clearly. However, it is a place that many Marine headquarters, Marine, likes to visit for leisure and entertainment. The owner of the tavern is a retired Marine Lieutenant General. It is said that he is an old Marine from the same group as Cyborg Fleet Admiral. He lost an arm and a leg in a Marine operation and was unable to become a Marine, so he opened a tavern here. As soon as Guion, Ryu, and Perusolino came in, the new generation Marines greeted them one after another. As a flower of Marine, Guion is the focus of the whole event. Guion didn't pay too much attention, and pulled Long and Perusolino towards the direction of Sakaski, Kuzan and others. The new generation who can sit at the same table with them all have some strength. The tavern owner was limping because he was wearing a prosthetic leg. When he saw Guillaume, Long and others, he came over quickly and said with a smile. Long, I haven't seen you here for a long time. I heard that you have had a conflict with Garp recently. Where? Long quickly retorted. Garp has such a bad temper. His education methods are really poor and he can only fight. But his justice does not need to be questioned. You have been trained as a Marine Fleet Admiral, and Garp has also paid a lot in it. Cherish it. Let's go. The tavern owner left after finishing speaking. The old man's justice dragon has never questioned it, but can the old man really fulfill justice as he pleases? Long Yi greeted Marine at the scene, then picked up the drink and drank it. Slightly drunk. Guillaume, Sakaski, Kuzan, Perusalino, what do you think of Marine? How do you understand justice? Sakaski was grumpy. Seeing Long like this, he slapped the wine table hard. Long, are you capable of becoming a Marine Fleet Admiral as you are now? If you continue like this, I will not be able to hold the position of Marine Fleet Admiral in the future. I really plan to fight for it. Perusalino shook his head and said nothing. As the youngest person present, Kuzan said, Marine has been fulfilling its own justice. Although there are many imperfections now, I believe that through our efforts, Marine will be closer to the word justice. Kuzan has not accepted the O'Hara incident at this time, but he is still hot inside, and he is also hot for Marine. Really? Then keep working hard. Marine will definitely be better. Long blessed in his heart. Although he planned to leave, he also wanted Marine to be better. Okay, let's stop talking about these serious topics. Let's talk about some fun things in life, and some fun things like the 8 trigrams scandal. Guillaume interrupted everyone. After drinking, Long walked away alone while no one was paying attention.